I opened a travel agency in the world of cultivation. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Workers. Fangboy Yang outside just smiled when he saw Rang's actions. This time, I came here mainly to see Rang's injuries, and I also want to see the little girl named Yang Zhao. You can see that my brother and Shen Dao have a big misunderstanding. They shouted and killed each other as soon as they met. Yang Zhao and Shen Dao came from Yunayang Temple together. I want to ask her to mediate. The young man on the roof was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect that the Fang family really didn't care about their face. Then he refused and said, "Uncle Fang, you really flatter her. Although Yang Zhao also came from Yunayang Temple, she is a junior anyway. How can she have a say?" Fangboy Yang didn't smile either. "Nephew, you don't have to worry about these. Just let her come out and follow me." The young man from the Rang family on the roof laughed, and with a shake of magic power, he sent the voice out. "Uncle Fang, it's not that I'm unreasonable, but it's so late at night, and you actually want to take a little girl away from my Shandy Fang. I'm really sorry. Please go back." Fangboy Yang outside snorted with disdain. "I didn't come here to play tricks with you. You have to give it to the person today, whether you want to or not. Don't force me to do it, or you can't afford to hurt the friendship between the two families." He clapped his hands, and 4 or 5 people appeared around him. Then several people appeared from other directions of Shandy Fang, and they actually surrounded this place. The people from the back door shouted, "Manager Rang, I found a thief at the back door of your Shandy Fang, and I have helped you catch him. See how to punish him." He raised his hand and threw a person into the yard. Yang Zhao looked up and saw that it was the young man who had just gone out to report the news. The young man had been knocked out and vomited blood and fainted. "Quick, bring a bowl of water." Shopkeeper Rang led the people to gather around, took out a small bottle from his arms, carefully poured out a pill, and stuffed it into the young man's mouth. "Quick, use water to help him pass the medicine down his throat." The young man on the roof was extremely angry when he saw this. "Fangboy Yang, are you bullying me because there is no one in the Rang family?" The Fang family members around Fangboy Yang couldn't stand it anymore, and they spat and cursed. "I say, what are you barking about? Do you think you can call out my grandfather's name? No matter how loud you shout, it's useless. We have already set up several silent formations around here. No one will come to rescue you, even if you shout at the top of your lungs. It won't take us long to break the formation of your Shandy Fang. By the time you Rang family members react, we would have withdrawn. We don't kill people or odd things. We just invite Yang Zhao to my house. Can your Rang family still tear your face with our Fang family because of this little thing? At worst, I'll send you some silver money at dawn as an apology. How about that? If you want to stop while you are ahead and hand over Yang Zhao, that's fine. But if you don't listen to good advice and want to be a hero to save the beauty, then when we break the formation, I will slap you a few more times in the face. At worst, I will send you more silver money alone when the day breaks. What do you think? The words of this young man were so mean that everyone in the yard was so angry that they cursed. Shopkeeper Rang raised his hand to suppress everyone, looked around, and smiled disdainfully. "Fangboy Yang, there is no need to show off your words today. If you have the ability, come in. If we lose, it's our own fault. We can't blame others for this loss. But if you want to open your mouth and take people away from our Shandy Fang, it's wishful thinking. The face of our Rang family is not as worthless as your Fang family. As the saying goes, if you don't agree, you don't say anything. No one knows who started the fight first." The young man of the Rang family on the roof was still trying his best to maintain the defensive formation. Wang Gongsheng and the other 3 elders each took out their weapons and fought with the other side. Shopkeeper Rang was even more ruthless and ordered the people who had no weapons nearby, "Go to the warehouse and move out everything you can use. Don't worry. As long as we can survive this moment, the Rang family will definitely react and rescue us. All of you present today. Add 5 taels of silver this month. Yes. Yang Zhao was confused, watching the workers around him being led by the foreman to move quickly. Some went to the warehouse to move weapons, some picked up things on the ground and threw them into the air to interfere with the other party's spell casting, and some moved tables and chairs from the house, surrounded the yard with a circle of simple fortifications, and directly placed the shields moved from the warehouse on top. It didn't even take 15 minutes to complete all this. Even her hand was stuffed with a large bag of palm thunder. This thing is also simple. With the help of magic power, it can fly up by itself, and it will explode when it hits something. Yang Zhao was not proficient at first, and the thunder in her palm could not fly at all. It was the foreman who was setting up the fortifications next to her who taught her, and the shopkeeper next to her even lifted up the big bow called Tao in the exhibition hall, drew the bow, and put the arrow on it, and bursts of fire rushed out. This didn't look like a fight, but more like an organized counterattack. Shandy Fang was the organized side. Yang Zhao hid in the fortifications, throwing thunder in her palm, while humming in her heart, "We workers have power. Hey, we workers have power." It turned out that this song was not rustic at all. It's a pity that she only knew how to sing this sentence. In fact, the Fang family fought very smoothly at the beginning. After all, there were only 5 people with strong magic in this yard, including shopkeeper Ang. They could suppress the opponent without any effort. But the defense formation of Shandy Fang was really not a vegetarian. It trembled and actually held on for some time. This little time gave Shandy Fang a chance to breathe. As soon as shopkeeper Ang and his men organized a counterattack, the people of the Fang family on the opposite side were caught off guard. The stones and bricks thrown at them were nothing, but the palm thunder thrown at them was fatal. After all, no matter who was hit by it, it would be uncomfortable. The many palm thunders flying out forced the Fang family in the sky to keep changing positions. However, the surrounding workshops were in bad luck and were caught off guard by the flying palm thunders. After a while, the defense formations of each workshop lit up. The workers inside were also on guard. This action was not small. Although no sound was heard, the light brought by weapons, spells, and palm thunders also attracted the attention of everyone in the sky. What's more, in the end, the defense formations of the entire workshop area lit up. As long as you are not blind, you will know that something has happened. City Lord Zeng even raised his eyes and shouted loudly, resounding through the world. "Where are the government troops? Yes. Take control of all the workshops in the North City immediately. Kill anyone who resists. Yes." With one order, government troops from all over the city rushed to the workshops in the North City like a flood. If you want a name, don't wait for me to urge you to update. Chapter 27, Accident. While the battle was going on in Shandy Fang, the frequency of Fang's attacks decreased, and they were slowly retreating. Shopkeeper Ang's eyes suddenly became sharp, and he shouted, "They want to run, hold them back." He shot the arrows at their retreating path with the bow in his hand. Yang Zhao was invigorated and threw the thunder in his palm faster, while Wang Dagang Feng and the other 3 turned from defense to offense, flew up and chased them to fight. The young man on the roof changed the formation directly and trapped Fang Boyang directly, and the offense and defense changed instantly. "Don't get entangled with them, leave quickly." Fang Boyang raised his weapon, broke the formation around him, turned around and wanted to leave, but shopkeeper Rang held the bow, aimed at his back and started shooting, forcing him to turn around to avoid the arrow shadow. Seeing the government troops getting closer and closer in the distance, he glared at shopkeeper Rang fiercely. "Shopkeeper Rang, are you really so heartless?" Shopkeeper Rang raised his eyebrows. "What kind of heart do I have for you?" Fang Boyang shouted, "Hurry up and leave, don't let the government army run into you." Shopkeeper Rang was not to be outdone. Capture 1 person and reward 10 taels of silver. Roar. The workers in the yard were excited all of a sudden. Several foremen looked at each other, picked up the shields on the chairs, took up their weapons, and rushed out with the workers. Yang Zhao felt so excited that he wanted to rush in with a bag of palm thunder, but he was called back by shopkeeper Rang before he ran to steps. "Yang Zhao, what are you doing? Come back here." Yang Zhao seemed to be poured with a basin of cold water, so he woke up and ran behind shopkeeper Rang in small steps. Fang Boyang's eyes flashed with a trace of regret, but he didn't entangle too much. While shopkeeper Ran was distracted, he fell down to the ground. There was a wall on the ground blocking shopkeeper Ran's sight, so he couldn't attack him from behind with a bow and arrow. As for the workers who chased him, they couldn't catch up with him. Just as he was about to go into the alley next to him, a voice rang out in the air. Wulian Xianzhen, fellow Daoist Fang, it's so late, where are you going? Fang Boyang looked carefully and saw that it was Shen Roi floating in the air. Of course I'm going home. Fellow Daoist Shen, is there anything else? Shen Roi, nothing, I just want to ask you about Taoism. As he said that, he pinched his hands and a thunderbolt fell. Fang Boyang was not a pushover. He took a few steps back, dodged the thunderbolt, and attacked with his weapon. Shen Roi had no external weapons now, so he couldn't fight head on. He could only dodge the weapon, while attracting the thunderbolt to strike him. Seeing this, Fang Boyang turned around and left. Your Fang family is really brave to organize people to attack the workshop in Kangcheng. It turned out that it was the city Lord Zeng who led the government army to block him. This time he couldn't leave at all. City Lord Zeng, what are you talking about? I only saw Shandy Fang being attacked by villains, and thinking of the generations of friendship between our two families, I came to rescue. How can you rely on your position as the city lord to throw black water on our Fang family? City Lord Zeng sneered, you are so eloquent and fickle, but I didn't realize that you, Fang Boyang, are also a master. What a pity, look who I caught. As he waved his hand, the soldiers behind him carried out two people from the back, who were officially the younger generation of the Fang family. The two men were held by the soldiers, but they were not honest. They kept struggling and shouting that they were wronged. We didn't attack Shanda Fang at all. City Lord Zeng, you can't accuse good people. City Lord Zeng, as expected, we are not from the same family. Whether you are good people is not up to me, but up to the victim. Fang Boyang, let's go. Go to Shanda Fang with us. I believe that with the friendship between you two Rang and Fang, the people in Shanda Fang will not embarrass you. Fang Boyang's face was livid, and he stared at City Lord Zeng fiercely without saying a word. But at this moment, shouts were heard all around, and the outer palace army and people started fighting. City Lord Zeng frowned. What's going on? Send someone to investigate. Fang Boyang's eyes lit up, knowing that his reinforcement had arrived. Reality did not disappoint him. The old man of the Fang family who was trying to persuade the fight in the air just now suddenly appeared from nowhere and rescued the two captured Fang family disciples. No need to explore. Lord Zeng, as the Lord of Kangcheng, you have been unpromising during your tenure, and you have taken advantage of others, and even joined forces with foreign thieves to injure the innocent children of the Fang family. Today, our Fang family will capture you and hand you over to Lord Leowen for disposal. It is said that Lord Leowen had studied with the ancestors of the Fang family. The Fang family is the largest clan in Kangcheng, with more than 1,000 disciples in the clan, and together with the retainers and servants, they can gather a crowd of 3,000. Zeng Cheng's face was at hen, and he stared at the old man Fang with hatred and suddenly laughed. This Fang family is really ambitious. I underestimated you. As he said that, he took out a thumb-sized gold seal from his arms, and with a push of his magic power, 6 big characters rose in the sky. Seal of the Lord of Kangcheng. The Fang family led the people to rebel, and I, the Lord of Kangcheng, Zeng Zhang, will lead the government army to eliminate the rebellion today. All irrelevant people must close their doors and not go out. Otherwise, they will be treated as traitors. Lord Zeng's words were blessed by the official seal and resounded throughout the city. The two sides tore their faces apart and started fighting on the spot. Shen Roi looked around and didn't find Fang Shila's figure. His heart tightened and he wanted to rush to Shandy Fang's room. The old man of the Fang family next to him stopped him. Where are you going, you thief? He threw the whisk in his hand and attacked. The streets and alleys were small, and the thunder attack surface was too large to be used. Shen Roi could only dodge left and right and couldn't move. On the other side, the people in Shandy Fang thought that the situation was settled and were sitting down to rest. They never thought that the children of the Fang family who had run away had come back again, and this time there were more people. The young man on the roof could only take out a pill from his arms and hold it under his tongue. He moved the abacus in his hand, opened the gap in the formation on the door, and let the workers who returned in. The workers in the workshop first left a team of people at the door to throw palm thunder to cover the rear, and the rest entered the yard. Then, the workers who entered the yard threw palm thunder outside to meet the workers who were behind. Except for a few unlucky ones, the rest returned to the yard safely. There were even a few teams holding the children of the Fang family tied up like twists in their hands and came to ask the shopkeeper Ang for rewards. Shopkeeper Ang followed the rules and ordered the accountant to write down these people on the spot and collect the money later. The other workers were eager to fight. Indeed, although the children of the Fang family made a comeback and attacked Shandy Fang again, the people of the Ran family also rushed over. Although the Ran family was obviously not well prepared and not many people came, some smart children turned around and flew into the air to seek help from their elders. Yang Zhao felt that the situation tonight changed too quickly. It was already dawn, and the two sides did not stop fighting. If she was very excited to throw the palm bomb at the beginning, she was exhausted after tossing in the middle of the night. Please tell me if there are any typos. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. The Big Ginkgo Tree arrives. The fortifications in the courtyard were set up again, and the workers put the big shields on the fortifications again. Shopkeeper Ang started to command on the spot again. Those who still had the strength to defend followed the Ran family members, and those who couldn't move sat down next to the fortifications to take a breath. The rest of the people who had no magic power left, and a team of people crouched and walked along the wall to move weapons to the warehouse. Another team of people, led by a Ran family member, went to the kitchen and used magic to draw water from the well into a large barrel. The workers carried buckets and bowls and brought the water over to quench everyone's thirst. However, the Fang family members outside were not easy to mess with. Only one of the 3 barrels of water could be brought in. The rest were driven by the Fang family members using magic to stimulate the sound waves, which cracked the barrel body and spilled the water in the barrel all over the workers. Yang Zhao didn't care whether it was clean or not. He picked up the bowl and drank 2 bowls of water. He turned around and hid in the fortifications and continued to throw palm thunder. I don't know why, although she was exhausted physically and thought she couldn't hold on every time, she could still have some mana in her body. At this moment, Yang Zhao suddenly felt a huge force knocking her out, like a fly hit by a fly swatter. The moment she landed, her eyes went dark, her throat felt sweet, and she was stunned by the fall. But her instinct told her to run away. She stumbled to her feet and felt that several bones in her body were broken. Looking around, she saw a towering ginkgo tree slapping everyone with its branches. Compared with its size, the people on the ground were like insects, vulnerable. Fang Shi is here, and he actually dug the big ginkgo tree out of Nanshan and brought it to the city. So the Fang family has been digging trees for more than a month. This is a Taoist tree with amazing defense. The palm thunder thrown on it only broke some branches and leaves. All kinds of weapons fell on it, and they became children playing house. Only the rockets shot from the bow in the hands of the shopkeeper Ang could cause it to be afraid. But shopkeeper Ang was already injured, and she had been fighting with bows and arrows for most of the night. Her magic power had long been exhausted, and now she was relying on the anger in her chest to hold on. Naturally, the bow and arrow in her hand no longer had such great power. Yang Zhao originally wanted to rush over to join the group, but in the blink of an eye, the big ginkgo tree swept towards her. Yang Zhao rolled and crawled to avoid it, and turned to run towards the kitchen. As she ran, she shouted, "Master Shen! Master Shen!" Fang Shi dug up the big ginkgo tree. In fact, she didn't need to shout at all. A towering tree suddenly grew in Shandy Fang. Anyone with eyes could see it. Shen Ryu ignored the old man's obstruction and forcibly summoned a thunderbolt. As soon as the old man dodged, he took the opportunity to rush over. However, the old man of the Fang family chased him closely from behind, trying to entangle him again. When Yang Zhao heard the thunder in the sky, he was immediately excited. He ignored the big ginkgo tree behind him and waved his hands to greet the workers along the way. Manager Ang asked you to follow me to the kitchen to move flour. Come quickly. You can get half a teal of silver for each bag of flour from Manager Ang. The workers were still a little skeptical. After all, even if the big ginkgo tree was blocked by everyone, it had always followed Yang Zhao firmly. But when they heard that there was silver to be taken, they turned around and ran after her. When several people arrived at the kitchen, they found that the door was locked. Yang Zhao was anxious. He touched his body and found that there were still 2 palm thunders. He used his magic power to attract and threw one directly out and instantly blew the door into 2 sections. Everyone entered the house carrying more than a dozen bags of sheep and wheat flour and wanted to rush out. But it was too late. The big ginkgo tree had blocked the door of the kitchen. Tear open the flour bags and throw them out. Several workers were also quick. They untied the mouths of the flour bags and threw 8 or 9 bags of sheep and wheat flour onto the big ginkgo tree. Get out of the way. Grandmaster, start the wind formation and send down thunder. A strong wind suddenly rose from nowhere, rolled up the flour, and covered the big ginkgo tree. Everyone present coughed and retreated. The wind became stronger and more flour was brought up, and soon the whole tree was covered with flour. Subtle vacuum. Xingxiao Zhao Gang. Thunder is coming. Crack. Boom. Even though she had dodged in advance, Yang Zhao was still hit by a wave of heat. The buzzing in her ears turned her brain into a paste, and she fainted the moment she landed. In a daze, she always felt that someone was hitting her. Yang Zhao forced her eyes open and found that the place was dark, and a huge tree-shaped monster kept whipping her. The tree-shaped monster had broken branches and leaves, and the whole tree was withered and yellow. Yang Zhao was anxious all of a sudden. Her parents had never beaten her since she was a child. What kind of person dared to hit her? She stood up and rushed over. The strange shadow of the tree was also very angry, waving branches and fighting with her. While hitting her, he was cursing. Yang Zhao was so angry that she didn't understand, but it was definitely not a good thing. In this dark night, in the bright and clear world, someone dared to hit her? She grabbed a branch and broke it hard while shouting, "Hurry up! Call the police! A monster is coming out to beat people!" The tree-shaped strange shadow was even more angry when he heard it and waved the branch to sweep Yang Zhao down. But Yang Zhao was stubborn at this time, so she grabbed the branch and didn't let go, trying her best to break it. Finally, after her unremitting struggle, she really broke a branch from the tree-shaped strange shadow. She looked at the broken branch in her hand, very excited, raised her hand to throw it away, rushed over with a cat head, grabbed another branch, and started to use force. No matter how the strange shadow hit her, she just didn't let go. As a girl, she was not as strong as boys, since she was young. When she fought with the naughty boy, kicking him a few times was not as good as breaking his finger to make him kneel down and beg for mercy. In this way, she ignored the severe pain in her body and broke off the branches of the strange shadow one by one. Just when she was about to win, the strange shadow roared, and a golden beast shadow rose from behind him. The beast shadow turned around and changed into a human form, glancing at her lightly. Yang Zhao felt like he was cast into a spell of immobilization and could not move at all, but he could not lose in momentum. Where did this country monster come from? You dare to come to my territory and make trouble? Let me go quickly, otherwise I don't care whether you are a protected animal or not, I will eat you. It's not against the law for me to eat you. The beast shadow seemed to have heard nothing, waved his hand, and a huge rock pressed down. Yang Zhao jumped even more when he saw him throwing stones. How dare you throw something from a high altitude? At this moment, a thin figure jumped out from behind her, holding a stick in his hand, and threw the stone away. Hey, monster, be beaten. Chapter 29, Causes. When Yang Zhao woke up, she felt pain all over her body. She moved a little and heard someone calling her vaguely. Master, master, are you awake? She recognized that it was Yang Mei's voice. She opened her eyes with great effort and glanced around. It was her dormitory. Her school bag was placed next to her pillow. Little girl Yang Mei was sitting on a stool beside the bed, looking at her in surprise. Master, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? I want to drink water. Yang Zhao struggled to sit up, took the water, and drank 2 large bowls in a row. Handing the bowl to Yang Mei, she asked about the situation outside. What's going on outside? It stopped a long time ago. I heard that someone will come to solve it in 2 days. Master, are you hungry? Do you want to eat something? Yang Zhao shook her head. She was dizzy and had no appetite. Okay, you've been busy for a long time. Go back and take a break. I want to sleep a little longer. Yang Mei came over to help her lie down, smiled and said, what's the big deal? It's natural for the apprentice to serve the master. Besides, we sisters take turns, so we are not tired at all. Master, if you want to sleep, take a nap. I'll be waiting outside. She tucked the corner of the quilt for Yang Zhao, turned around and went out to close the door. Yang Zhao reached out to open her school bag. The power bank looked fine, but the screen of the mobile phone was cracked. She tried to turn it on. Fortunately, it still worked. A big stone in her heart fell to the ground, and she turned off the phone again. Her head was dizzy and painful, and she fell asleep again after a while. She was in a daze, feeling that someone was coming, but she couldn't open her eyes. She slept for 3 days before she could get out of bed. Since she could get up, she naturally played a trick first. She could clearly feel the spiritual energy happily wandering in her body and constantly strengthening. Her body was indeed much more comfortable. Looking at her arm again, sure enough, the turbid sweat soaked her clothes again. Oh, you're still practicing? Yang Zhao turned around and saw that it was shopkeeper Ang. You look like you've recovered well. Yes, I don't feel seriously injured. Yang Zhao smiled awkwardly and took a few steps back. She was sweating all over and was too embarrassed to get too close to others. Shopkeeper Ang didn't expose her and said, the Lord of Laoan Mansion has arrived and wants to see you. Get ready and I'll take you there. Yang Zhao quickly went into the house to pack up and followed Shopkeeper Ang with her school bag on her back. The two of them got on the animal cart and left Shandy Fang. Along the way, she asked Shopkeeper Ang about the Fang family. The Fang family has really fallen into decline. In the past few hundred years, no one of them has been able to take up an important position to gather incense. The family lacks incense, and their cultivation has been sluggish, so they set their sights on your Dao tree and wanted to steal some of your Yunyang temple's incense, but Yunyang temple has not had any disciples come here for 400 or 500 years. So Fang Shili, the most talented person in their family, occupied your Dao tree and turned to practicing demon Taoism, hoping to use the talent of the Dao tree to reach a higher level. Who would have thought? You actually had such an unreasonable heavenly rule that trapped him. As he said this, Shopkeeper Ang couldn't help laughing. They have waited for more than 80 years for you, so Fang Shili naturally didn't want to miss this opportunity. But recently the Fang family and he have different ideas. They actually want to go to Zhao, pretend to be gods and ghosts, and become immortals to gather incense from you. Yang Zhao was stunned for a moment. Did the Fang family think these things were so simple? Seeing the doubt in Yang Zhao's eyes, Shopkeeper Ang explained. It's mainly because of that heavenly rule. This heavenly rule is unreasonable. All living beings hope that no aliens will become spirits. Most of the time, there are very few people who can subdue aliens that have become spirits. When aliens just become spirits, their animal nature is stronger than their human nature, and they often cause trouble. If no one can control them, the damage they cause will be too great. This heavenly rule also indirectly shows that there are no cultivators in Zhao now, and they can only use heavenly rules to suppress aliens. And when you just came here, you didn't even open your meridians and revive your spirit, which confirms their idea. Yang Zhao was very puzzled and asked, are incense really important? Shopkeeper Ang, you have just started practicing, and you haven't experienced the benefits of incense. The higher your cultivation level, the more important incense will be. You will naturally know it in the future. Shopkeeper Ang, there is still one thing that has been bothering me for a long time. More than a month ago, I just started practicing officially, and Fang Shili came to trouble me right after. How did he know? Shopkeeper Ang looked at her with amusement and said, because he is a Taoist tree. You are stirring the spiritual energy with the cultivation method of Yunayang Temple under his nose, so he can naturally feel it. You are the only disciple of Yunayang Temple in the whole Kangcheng. Okay, we have arrived at the city lord's mansion. Come with me to get off the car. Yang Zhao got off the car with her. The city lord's mansion did not look so majestic. There were 2 rows of soldiers standing at the door. Shopkeeper Rang stepped forward and said a few words to the people. A soldier trotted in. After a while, he came out and led the 2 people in personally. After bypassing the screen wall, the group did not turn and walked directly to a hall. There were many people sitting in the hall. Yang Zhao quickly glanced at them and only recognized Master Shen, City Lord Zheng, the ancestor of the Rang family, and Fang Boyang, whose face turned livid. Rang greets the lord of the mansion. The person next to me is Yang Zhao from Yunayang Temple. Yang Zhao also saluted with shopkeeper Rang. The lord of the mansion, who was sitting at the top of the hall, said, "No need to be polite. I called you here this time because I have something important to discuss." Yang Zhao looked at the person sitting at the top in disbelief. What important matter could he have with her? The lord of the mansion smiled and ordered directly, "Someone bring 2 chairs, let the 2 of you sit down, and serve tea." The 2 people sat at the end of the table and listened to the lord of the mansion saying, "I called you here this time to discuss with you where the teleportation formation of Yunayang Temple is placed." Yang Zhao, lord of the mansion, "I don't understand what you mean. Wasn't the teleportation formation destroyed by Fang Shili?" The lord of the mansion, "Although the formation is destroyed, the positioning Sinan is intact. It is very simple to lay another teleportation formation. The question now is whether you, Yunayang Temple, still want to stay in Kangcheng." Yang Zhao was still a little confused. "Lord of the mansion, I'm just a junior. You should ask Shen Daozu about this matter." Lord of the mansion Lei Huan smiled and glanced at Shen Ruoyu. Shen Ruoyu nodded and said, "Because I'm dead, the dead can't express their opinions." Although Yang Zhao always heard him say that he was dead, he didn't feel it was real. After all, his behavior didn't look like a ghost in the traditional sense. "Yang Zhao, this matter can only be decided by you. I can't express any opinions to interfere with you. If there is anything wrong with the writing, please tell me. I'm a newcomer and have no experience in this area." Chapter 30, Book Contract. Yang Zhao was a little embarrassed because she didn't understand the matter. She glanced at Shen Ruoyu and could only ask shamelessly, "Master, can I ask what is involved in this matter?" Master Lei Huan moved the tea lid and said, "Let City Lord Zheng tell you in detail." Yang Zhao turned his eyes to City Lord Zheng, who was sitting on the deputy. City Lord Zheng paused for a moment, as if to organize his words. "You are from the Red County Shenzhou, not from this world, so it's normal that you don't know. Your Yunayang Temple was allowed to build a teleportation formation in this world thousands of years ago. The address at that time was chosen in Kangcheng. Every 200 or 300 years, you and Kangcheng will re-sign a written contract to confirm the legality of this teleportation formation. But last time, none of you came to re-sign the contract. This teleportation formation is now free and can be moved anywhere at will. But if you want to move to a certain place, you must obtain the permission of the city lord there. This time we called you here to ask, do you want to stay in Kangcheng, or do you have a better choice? Does this question require a choice? She has never been anywhere except Kangcheng. How can she get the city lords of other places to agree to her placing a teleportation formation on their territory? This is simply impossible. However, Yang Zhao glanced at Fang Boyang and asked, "If I agree to place the teleportation formation in Kangcheng, what if the Fang family comes to cause trouble?" The eyes of everyone present became playful, and Fang Boyang's face flushed. Lord Leon, who was sitting on the upper seat and sipping tea, spoke this time. "You don't have to worry about this, because the Fang family caused such a big mess in Kangcheng a few days ago. The government has decided to punish all the Fang family members who participated in the past few days to guard the border for 100 years. Now, except for some women and children, there are basically no people in the Fang family." No wonder Fang Boyang's face was not good when he came in. Yang Zhao felt a little relieved. "Lord, even if I want to keep the formation, it has been destroyed." Lord Leon glanced at Yang Zhao with a smile. "This is indeed a big problem. I have decided to divide the Fang family's property into 3 parts. One part will be given to the Fang family members who stayed in Kangcheng to ensure their lives. One part will be given to Shanda Fang to compensate for their losses in the past few days. And the remaining part will be left to Yunnyang Temple for you to set up the formation. But moving the formation is very expensive, and it can't be compensated, even if the entire Fang family is moved here. So you need to work hard to raise the subsequent money. Yang Zhao was stunned for a moment. She only had a total of 27 taels of silver in her hand. How could such a huge debt fall on her head? She couldn't help but look at Shenryu next to her. Shenryu could only shake his head. He had no money either. Lord Leowen looked at the eyes of the 2 people, smiled, and said, "Since there is no problem, let's sign a new deed." "Yes, yes." Yang Zhao waited for a while, and a clerk brought out a written contract from the back hall. City Lord Zeng directly stamped it with his City Lord seal, but Yang Zhao didn't have one, so he could only take out pen and ink, and write on it, "Yunnyang Temple Yang Zhao." When she put down the last stroke, a red light flashed on the contract, and the entire contract burned up. Yang Zhao stared at this scene in amazement. If she hadn't dodged quickly, she would have been burned just now. "Okay, this matter is resolved, then I will hand over the positioning Sinan to fellow Daoist Shen." Lord Leowen took out a bag from his pocket and handed it to Shenryu. Then Shenryu led Yang Zhao to bid farewell to everyone and left the city lord's mansion. The 2 of them didn't have a beast cart, so they could only talk while walking. Yang Zhao didn't understand and asked, "Grand Master, I don't understand why City Lord Zeng seems to be willing to keep our formation. Of course it is profitable." Shenryu said as they walked, "Like the chopsticks, abacus, Sinan, and even some naming habits in Kangcheng, they are all passed down from here. This is inevitable in the interaction between the 2 worlds. When our formation is repaired and reopened, the local area will usher in new things. This is a rare opportunity for a small inland city." Yang Zhao, Grandmaster, are there many such teleportation formations in this world? Shenryu, a lot, but the places they connect to are different, and the consequences are also different. I know there is a world that is full of mushrooms, without flowers, plants, and trees, so they have to build a teleportation formation, and the surrounding mountains can only grow mushrooms. A world with only mushrooms? Yang Zhao also wanted to go and see, take a few good photos, and record a video. How many fans can I gain? Shenryu sighed and said, "I think you are fine. You can pack up and leave tomorrow." "Why?" Yang Zhao was a little surprised. She had finally found a job here, and didn't have to worry about food and drink. The annoying Fang family was about to collapse. Why did she run away? Even if there are still women and children left in the Fang family, you, who just opened your meridians, can't beat them. I'm already dead, and I can't stay in the city every day. Do you want to be trapped and die in Shandafang? Yang Zhao thought to himself that it's not impossible. Isn't it just staying at home? But being forced to stay at home does make him feel unhappy. Yang Zhao turned around and asked, "Then Master, will you go with me?" Shenryu shook her head and said, "I can't. Where can I go alone? Of course you protect me. Otherwise, can you bear it for a weak woman like me to go to other places alone?" Shenryu turned around and looked at her. "Yes, it is indeed unsafe for a woman to go out alone. But I want to rest in peace. Master, if you don't protect me, then it won't be long before I will be buried with you." Yang Zhao looked at him pitifully. If he wasn't so illusory, he would have wanted to hold his sleeve and shake him. "Okay, then let's go build a tomb for your uncle Gongsun Yang first, and then bury my body next to it, so I'll have a companion." Yang Zhao, Uncle Gongsun is so old, how to bury him? But she did whatever Shenryu said. After all, she would still need his protection in the future. The 2 of them stopped a beast cart, paid some more silver, and pulled Shenryu's body to the foot of Nanshan Mountain. Shenryu started to go up the mountain with his body on his back. "Grand Master, don't you need to cover yourself with something?" Yang Zhao was a little curious. "That day, I just crawled out of the ground, and my eyes hurt when I saw the sunlight, but now I'm much better." Yang Zhao, does this dead man also have eye pain? It feels like his useless knowledge has increased again. After the two arrived at Union Temple, they saw that there was already a big pit on it. Shenroi used lightning to strike a small pit next to the big pit, put his body in it, and picked up some dead branches and roots of ginkgo trees nearby, threw them into the big pit, and then cast a spell to bury the two pits. Master, what year were you born? The 21st year of Hanwu. What's wrong? You little girl, are you doubting me? No, I just want to calculate how old you are. More than 200 years. Chapter 31. It's over. They said they would leave tomorrow, but in fact they were delayed for more than half a month. It was said that the day when the people from the Fang family, who were punished to guard the border, left was extremely lively, but Yang Zhao did not dare to watch, for fear of being remembered by others. After those people left, she dared to open her mobile phone to report safety to her family. The next day, she resigned to shopkeeper Ang. Shopkeeper Ang did not say anything. After all, she had expected this result. He allowed her to live in Shandifang before she left and teach the two little apprentices more, which was considered as rent. This was out of kindness, for fear that she would be retaliated against if she moved out. Afterwards, City Lord Zeng counted the Fang family's property and sent someone to tell Yang Zhao to go and receive 1/3 of the Fang family's property. She got up early that day, turned on the video on her mobile phone, connected the power bank, and put it in her school bag. After packing up her things, she went to say goodbye to shopkeeper Ran with her school bag on her back. When Yang Zhao arrived, the Fang family was already very busy. It was said that the Lord of Leoan Prefecture hired 3 pawn shops, 2 pawnbrokers and the clerks in the city lord's mansion, and it took more than 10 days to evaluate the family property. The women and children of the Fang family were given priority, and the rest were divided equally between the Ran family and Union Temple. The Lord of Leoan Prefecture sat in the hall and gave a copy of the Fang family's property list to the Ran family and Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao took a look and put the list down casually. Lord, you guys decide how to divide it. I'm new here and I haven't recognized all the words on it yet. I just want to trouble City Lord Zeng with something. City Lord Zeng, who was drinking tea on the side, was stunned and said, what can you trouble me with? Yang Zhao, City Lord, you may not know yet, but in a few days I will leave Kangcheng with Grandmaster Shen and go to other places to raise some money and property to rebuild the teleportation formation. Naturally, I can't take the Fang family's money away, so I want to discuss with the City Lord whether I can keep it temporarily with you. Everyone present was shocked. Could such a large sum of money be entrusted to others with confidence? Yang Zhao, do you know how much money that is? We are not related. How dare you entrust it to me? Yang Zhao said sincerely. Since 2 months ago, when City Lord Zeng rescued the night watchman from Fang Shili, your character is beyond doubt. This time, I still have to trouble City Lord Zeng to help me. I'm very grateful. City Lord Zeng and Lord Leoan looked at each other and laughed. Okay, there is nothing you can't agree to. I will make 2 copies of this property list later, 1 for you, and 1 for the City Lord's mansion. When you come back to rebuild the teleportation array, I will ensure that all these properties are intact. Then, he summoned the clerk in the mansion to copy a written contract, attached the property list, and City Lord Zeng and Yang Zhao signed and stamped it. The list turned into ashes in an instant. After solving this major issue, Yang Zhao breathed a sigh of relief, sat for a while, and got up to say goodbye to everyone. When she came out, Shenroi was already waiting for her outside. Seeing Yang Zhao come out empty-handed, she was surprised and asked her, did you really entrust all your property to City Lord Zeng? Yang Zhao, of course, I have already discussed it. Can I regret it? Shenroi laughed. I didn't expect that young girls nowadays are so powerful. Yang Zhao looked depressed. If she couldn't take the money, why wouldn't she take it? The Fang family was once the largest family in Kangcheng. The family's wealth was huge. Even 1/3 of it could probably cover Kangcheng's tax revenue for several years, or even several years. Such a large amount of money flowing out to other cities is a major asset outflow, which no normal person would allow. There is no right or wrong on this issue. As long as Yang Zhao is greedy, she can only die. so she just didn't take a penny and forced City Lord Zeng to sign a contract with her so that there would be less unnecessary wrangling in the future when building the teleportation array. I just hope that City Lord Zeng hasn't resigned by then, Yang Zhao muttered. Shenroi smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, cultivators come to be the lord of a city to accumulate incense. Today everyone knows that such a large sum of money is in his hands. When you come back, he will not touch it. At that time, his reputation among the common people will surely rise. Yang Zhao knew that incense was needed for cultivation, but he didn't know that incense was so important. Why? Why do you want incense? Shenroi said with a mysterious look on his face. You will know when you have a high level of cultivation. Why are you asking nonsense now? Let's go. While it's still early, let's leave the city quickly and don't let the people of the Fang family react. Yang Zhao got on the beast cart and went straight to the east gate with Shenroi. There was a pier there and the bustling merchants were busy here. The two of them boarded the boat that had been booked long ago and left Kangcheng along the river. On the other side, Zeng Chengzhu, who had just returned to the city lord's mansion, was ordering people to count the property entrusted by Yang Zhao. Zeng Chengzhu's son stood beside him, looking at him with hesitation. City Lord Zeng asked curiously, what happened to you today? You are not allowed to speak every day, but you still want to speak. Father, I just don't understand. City Lord Zeng, what do you not understand? His son mustered up the courage to ask. More than 2 months ago, you offended the Fang family in order to save that night watchman. A few days ago, you sided with the man from Chixin Shenzhou. Now the Fang family is in pieces. The Lord of Leoan Mansion has a history with the Fang family. If you do this, he may hate you. Zeng Chengzhu raised his hand and asked his son to come into the house to talk. City Lord Zeng asked him, will you let anyone touch your weapons? Of course not. Except for my parents. No one can touch my weapons. That's right. Then do you know what weapons he wants as the lord of a city? His son was obviously stunned. Is it the seal of the city lord's mansion? City Lord Zeng smiled and shook his head. The weapon of the lord of a city is the law of the city. That night Fang Shili robbed people late at night, which was using my weapon. How could I let him go? Is the law a weapon? Of course it is, and it is a very useful weapon. I want to govern a city, so naturally I hope that everyone will act according to the law. The law naturally becomes my weapon, and this is also my right. All those who break the law are encroaching on my rights. Others like to kill chickens to scare monkeys, but I have to do things like killing monkeys to respect chickens. His son was anxious. But father, aren't you afraid that Lord Leoan will bear a grudge against you? Why does he bear a grudge against me? The Fang family relies on their ancestors to have some connection with him, and they do some things in the name of the lord of the mansion every day that are not up to standard. The lord of the mansion has been fed up with them for a long time. But wouldn't it be better if we had a good relationship with the Fang family? City Lord Zeng, don't you think that they are a big family after all, and your father is from a commoner family? My son would never dare to do that. I admire my father's achievements very much. But you want to be a descendant of a noble family, right? City Lord Zeng saw through his son's thoughts. His son lowered his head in embarrassment. If you want to be a descendant of a noble family, you have to create it yourself. Wouldn't it be better for you to be the ancestor of a big family? Chapter 32, Huanglang Port. This is a large passenger ship. Yang Zhao came to the deck and looked at the scenery passing by quickly on both sides. She felt very happy. This was her first time to take a boat, and it was an ancient boat. At this moment, she heard someone calling her. Are you Sister Yang Zhao? Yang Zhao looked back and found that it was Miss Zhao. It was this little girl who took her pulse. Miss Zhao, it's me. Why are you also on the boat? Miss Zhao ran over and said, I thought I recognized the wrong person, but it was you. This time my grandfather took me to Huanglang Port. Sister Yang Zhao, where are you going? I'm going to Huanglang Port too. We have company this time. Yang Zhao didn't know much about this world. Apart from Kangcheng, he only knew Huanglang Port, which sounded much more prosperous than Kangcheng. So he tentatively asked Shenroi for his opinion, and he agreed. The two were chatting, and Miss Zhao's grandfather followed from behind. Little girl, you are not steady at all. You dare to run around on the boat. Little fish was not angry. She went over to support her grandfather with a smile. Grandpa, guess who I saw? Yang Zhao, the one whose meridians I opened successfully. The old man was also surprised. Yang Zhao has been a celebrity in the city these days. It is said that she is going to collect 1/3 of the Fang family's property today. Why is she here? However, the old man did not ask much. He patted little fish on the back and said, you should chat with her and come in a while. It's windy outside. Be careful not to catch a cold. After that, he went back. Little fish ran back again. Sister Yang Zhao, are you alone on the boat? Yang Zhao shook his head and said, the master is resting in the cabin. I felt it was stuffy inside, so I ran out directly. I feel it's stuffy inside too. Little fish was happy, as if she had met a confidant. Sister Yang Zhao, what's the matter with your trip to Huanggang this time? I want to find a job there. I heard that the salary there is much higher than in Kangcheng. Zhao looked at him in confusion. Sister, are you still short of money? I thought you were going to school there. Yang Zhao didn't say anything more and turned to ask Zhao, Miss Zhao, what are you doing there? Zhao pouted, leaned on the fence beside the boat, and muttered softly, since I opened your pulse, I have never opened the pulse for others successfully. Grandpa said that I was not good at learning. Your last time was all the credit of your acupoint pressing. He asked me to go to Huanggang to learn from my master. Yang Zhao was scared and broke into a cold sweat, but she didn't say much. After all, she didn't spend any money and opened the pulse successfully. You don't have to be depressed. With me being the first to succeed, there will naturally be a second and a third. Zhao suddenly became excited. Thank you for your good words. When he returned to the room, Yang Zhao turned off the camera on his mobile phone and went out to find Shenroi next door. At that time, he was just playing with the 3 taels of silver out of boredom. The ghost didn't eat or drink, and even the boat fare was paid by Yang Zhao. He hasn't spent the silver in his hand yet. Yang Zhao knocked on the door and entered the room and asked him straight to the point. Grandmaster, can you open the meridians? No, why are you asking these questions? Shenroi raised an eyebrow and looked at her. Grandmaster, you don't know, I have a younger brother, and I also want him to practice, but in our hometown, there is no one who can open the meridians, so I want to ask you. Shenroi frowned. How can there be no one who can open the meridians? Isn't there anyone in Yunnyang Temple? Yang Zhao. It seems that he didn't listen to a word of Yang Zhao's words before. He was told that there was no one in Yunnyang Temple, so why didn't he believe it? Shenroi, what's the expression on your face? Yang Zhao could only grit his teeth and repeat what he said before. This time Shenroi was really shocked. He had always thought that Yang Zhao was fooling Fang Shili. In his era, Yunnyang Temple was at its peak. How could there be only one registered disciple who knew nothing now? Grandmaster, the moon waxes and wanes, and it is normal for Yunnyang Temple to be like this. Shenroi was furious. This is not normal. What about Gongsanzan? As the Taoist tree of Yunnyang Temple, doesn't he take care of it? It is not allowed to become a spirit after the founding of the country. Shenroi choked and had nothing to say. Seeing him like this, Yang Zhao could only persuade him. Grandmaster, you don't have to be like this. I was able to come here because of Uncle Gongsanzan. Shenroi's face was bitter. From the moment I saw that heavenly rule, I had a bad feeling. I didn't expect that the entire cultivation world was really in decline. This heavenly lock is getting tighter and tighter. Yang Zhao, master, what is the heavenly lock? Why are you asking so many questions? Practice well. When you have a high level of cultivation, you will naturally know. The tone was exactly the same as when his parents fooled her when she was a child. Grandmaster, can't you reveal a little bit in advance? Yang Zhao was curious and wanted to get to the bottom of it. Now that you know, can you solve it? There is strength in numbers. Do you know why people who practice Taoism always go to the mountains? Yang Zhao shook her head. She always thought that it was to live in the mountains and pretend to be immortals. Shenroi had nothing to do, so she started chatting with her. That's because the wind on the mountain is strong and the weather changes faster. These changes make the spiritual power more active, making it easier for people to practice. From what you just described, you were under Gongsun's feet, using incense to attract spiritual energy, and in the end you almost crushed yourself to death. This shows that even the spiritual energy on the mountain is not active anymore. This is a heavenly lock. Yang Zhao, Grandmaster, according to what you said, is it better to practice in the sea? Shenroi nodded. Otherwise, where did the 3 immortal mountains overseas come from? There is the moonlight at the seaside to help. Every morning and evening, the moonlight drives the waves to roll, which is the best time to practice. But from what you said, it probably won't work at the seaside now. Will it work in the sea where there are strong winds every day, every month, and every year? Shenroi looked at her strangely. Is there such a place? Why doesn't he know? It probably works, but we still have to try. Is there really such a place? A strange light flashed in Yang Zhao's eyes. Yes, that place is called Roaring Westerlies. The boat took 2 days and 2 nights, and finally arrived at Uanglang port on the morning of the 3rd day. When she was on the ground, Yang Zhao felt reborn. At the beginning, she was still very curious about taking a boat, but after a while, she began to get seasick. Although she didn't vomit, she couldn't avoid chest tightness and weak legs. After being afraid of heights, she had another problem of seasickness. Yang Zhao walked crookedly on the ground twice, and finally found a sense of balance. Huanglang Port is a port city. Huge sailboats come in and out here, and commercial goods are piled up on both sides. There is a huge gatehouse on each dock. The water mist flutters, and evenly sprinkles on everyone, even the goods. Chapter 33, Sweat. Yang Zhao waited for a while with his luggage, and then Miss Zhao and her grandfather got off the boat. Miss Zhao was very happy to see Yang Zhao. Sister Yang Zhao, are you waiting for me? Yang Zhao nodded. We are both unfamiliar with this place, and we need to take care of each other in the future. Miss Zhao's grandfather only sent her to the Kame Hall here this time, and will leave tomorrow. By then, she will also study here alone. That's great, Sister Yang Zhao. You must come to find me when the time comes. I will study at Qingyuan Kame Hall. Yang Zhao smiled. Okay, I will definitely come to find you after I settle down. Her grandfather and Shenroi watched the 2 people talking there and did not say anything. The 2 talked for a few words, and the people who came to pick up Zhao and her grandfather came over. The 2 said goodbye to each other, and Yang Zhao watched her get on the car and leave. Shenroi saw them go far away. Then she asked Yang Zhao, why are you so enthusiastic about her? The little girl is very innocent. Don't lead her astray. Yang Zhao secretly rolled his eyes at him. You don't know how to open the meridians either, so I naturally have to find someone to learn. Miss Zhao is the only meridian opener I can get in touch with. How can I not have a good relationship with her? Shenroi was a little surprised. Logically speaking, she had already opened her meridians and awakened her spirit, so why did she still learn this thing? Are you still thinking about your brother's meridian opening? Your brother is already an adult. It's not easy to open the meridians, and it's not cheap to learn to open the meridians, and it will delay your practice. How could Yang Zhao not know this? She only had 22 taels of silver in her hand now. How to survive here when she first came here was a problem, so she naturally didn't want to waste money elsewhere. But some things must be planned early, such as friendships that need to be built slowly, and you can't try to make friends with others at the last minute. Okay, I have my own plans. Let's go. The 2 also stopped a beast cart to enter the city. First, she found a dental shop in the city and rented a cheap courtyard from it. The lease was only for 3 months, but Yang Zhao had to pay 10 taels of silver. The prices here are obviously more expensive than those in Kangcheng. When she bought all the necessities for living, she only had 5 taels of silver left. It seems that she has to go out to earn money tomorrow. She is always panicked when she has no money. There is one good thing, Shenroi doesn't have to eat, which saves a lot of expenses. There was nothing to do in the afternoon, so Yang Zhao practiced in the yard, and Shenroi watched from the side. Yang Zhao, you didn't do this movement well. You should raise your arms higher, take big steps with your legs, and straighten your waist. Shenroi grabbed a branch from the side and pointed at her. Yang Zhao was very happy to have someone to give her advice. and tried her best to do it according to Shenroi's requirements. After only 2 trips, she felt more tired than usual. Grandmaster, don't other people meditate when they practice? Why do we in Yunyang Temple move around like we are practicing martial arts? Shenroi rolled her eyes and said, of course we also meditate, but based on experience from ancient times, young people who meditate basically fall asleep at the end. Yang Zhao couldn't understand. Why? Isn't meditation all about spiritual power flowing through the meridians? How is it possible to fall asleep? Shenroi, who told you that? The first task of meditation is to calm the mind. You have to get rid of distracting thoughts before you can circulate spiritual power. Most young people fall asleep when they get rid of distracting thoughts, while some young people can't get rid of distracting thoughts at all, so it's safer and more effective to move. Yang Zhao suddenly remembered that when he was in college, meditation was indeed popular in the dormitory for a while, and Yang Zhao also did it, but basically fell asleep in the end. Shenroi looked at Yang Zhao a little strange. There's something wrong with you. It's been more than 2 months since you opened your meridians and awakened your spirit. Why is your sweat still so turbid? It's much better now. The sweat in the first few days was the dirtiest. Now it's much clearer. I'll go wash first. Grandmaster, you can do as you please. Yang Zhao went into the house a little embarrassed. After Yang Zhao cleaned up, he came out to get close to Shenroi. Grandmaster, you told me a few days ago that my card can communicate between the 2 worlds and transport some small things. Grandmaster, can you teach me? Shenroi was sitting outside playing with his 3 teals of silver. He said nonchalantly, what's so good about learning this? What is there on the other side that we don't have here? Why waste the incense? You are young now and don't know the importance of incense. It will be too late to regret it when you have a higher level of cultivation. Yang Zhao, Grandmaster, I know incense is very important, but you see we have no money, right? I'll ask my parents to send me some silver, okay? Shenroi looked at her as if she was looking at a prodigal son. Just for a few teals of silver, you wasted so much incense. If you can sell this incense, there are people willing to pay a high price to buy it. It's not cost effective at all. Yang Zhao could only continue to beg, Grandmaster, isn't this an emergency? Now we can't live happily. You don't have to eat, but I will die if I don't eat. Shenroi muttered to herself, but still taught her. Finally, he solemnly told Yang Zhao, just this once. Use this thing less, otherwise you will really regret it in the future. Yang Zhao nodded obediently and learned to pinch the fingers and chant the spell with his hands. He also practiced it twice alone in front of him to let him correct his mistakes. This set of spells is not difficult, and the precious thing is just the use of incense. Seeing that it was getting dark, Yang Zhao sent Shenroi back to the house, and she hid in the house and began to reply to messages at home. Emphasize on telling the other side this good news that can communicate between the 2 worlds. His brother Yang Yun was very excited and shouted excitedly, Sister, how come you are so awesome? You are now the most awesome sister in the world. Yang Zhao, okay, stop flattering me. Hurry up and get ready. In an hour, you go to Uncle Gangzhen and wait for me to do something. You have to calculate how long it will take to transport the things to the earth. Yang Yun, sister, don't worry, I will help you. So what are you transporting over? What do you need? I will prepare it for you. Yang Zhao pondered for a while. She didn't have any good things to send over. She took a look at her school bag and made up her mind. Yang Yun, I still have more than 23,000 in my bank card. The password is my birthday. Please buy me 400 grams of silver and use the rest to buy me a mobile phone and a solar charger. My mobile phone screen is broken and I don't know when it will break. I will put them in the formation opposite later. I will send a book and a handkerchief over here. The sweat on it is from my practice. Can you ask them if they can help me check what the ingredients are? Okay, I'll go right away. Sister, should I go to the gold shop to buy silver or to the bank? Yang Zhao, go to the bank and buy silver coins issued by the bank. Okay. Chapter 34, Found. Yang Zhao looked at her phone and it was silent. She guessed that Yang Yun had gone to buy silver. As for who the other party was, the two siblings knew each other and neither of them mentioned it. An hour later, Yang Yun sent her a message. Sister, the things have been bought. I have also come to Uncle Gongsun's place. You can start. Okay, then I will start. You calculate the time. Yang Zhao put down his phone, folded the hand towel he had just used to wipe his sweat, and put it together with the book, and put the Dao card on top of the two. After getting ready, he licked his lips nervously. He made a hand gesture and shouted, "The sky and the earth are boundless, and the universe is changing." Yang Zhao watched the things in front of him disappear, leaving only a Dao card. At the same time, under the big ginkgo tree, Yang Yun put the silver in the designated position of the big ginkgo tree. After waiting for a while, he also watched the silver coins he put on the floor disappear. Is this real? Did you film it? The electronic equipment was a little unclear at the end, but the film camera filmed it very clearly. Save the video and film, change another memory card and film the process of the other side's things being transported over. Be careful and don't make any mistakes. Yes. Everyone around was extremely excited. This incident was destined to go down in history. They were all people who made history. The rest depends on whether the other side's things can reach us. Are the protective clothing ready? Why haven't the isolation boxes been delivered yet? The isolation box will be here in 10 minutes. How do you do things? What if the thing is delivered now? What should I do? Let him hurry up. I want to see the isolation box in 5 minutes. Yes. Yang Zhao was waiting in the room. Since the things were gone, she also started to count the time with her mobile phone. After waiting for an hour and 28 minutes, a small stack of silver coins, a new mobile phone and a solar charger appeared on the road sign. Yang Zhao excitedly took the silver coin. This was issued by the bank. One silver coin was exactly 20 grams, and there were 20 in total. The mobile phone was a brand I had never seen before. It looked very resistant to falling, and the power bank looked very high-tech. Yang Zhao took out the new mobile phone, which had already been installed with a tempered glass film and a protective case. When she turned on the new phone, all the software inside was downloaded. She sent a message to the other party. The things have arrived here. It took an hour and 28 minutes. How about yours? It took the same time. The things have also arrived. The hand towel will be analyzed for you urgently. The results will be given to you in 10 hours. Okay. I have noticed it a long time ago. You must be hiding something from me. Sure enough, I caught you in the act, right? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded outside the door. Yang Zhao's heart skipped a beat in fear in the room. Standing outside the room was Shen Ruoyu. Open the door, and let me see what kind of advanced magic weapon that little thing in your hand is. It can actually contact you from such a long distance. Yang Zhao quickly turned on the light, and ran over to open the door. Uncle Master, what you said is really unfair to me. How could I hide it from you? It's just that so many things happen these days that I forgot about it. Besides, if I really wanted to hide it from you, I wouldn't have suggested that you follow me when we were in Kangcheng. As he said that, he held the phone in his hands. Shenroi took the phone and examined it carefully from top to bottom. What is this? How does it work? Just such a small thing can contact your family? This is a mobile phone used for timely calls, but the signal here is not good, so I can only send some voice messages, not timely communications. Seeing that Shenroyu's attitude was quite peaceful, Yang Zhao finally put his heart at ease. Who invented this? Why didn't I know about it at that time? It's only been out for less than 2 years, and you can still play it like this. Yang Zhao didn't know much about the history of mobile phones, so he could only change the subject and teach him how to play it. Shenroi was very smart. After a while, in addition to the functions that required networking, other functions such as video recording, photography, recording, and calculators were all very good. Master, this new phone is my gift to you. You can have fun with it. He handed over the power bank and taught him how to charge it. Shenroi was a little embarrassed. He just wanted to scare Yang Zhao, not to steal his things. How can I be so embarrassed? Just give me your old one and you can use this new one. Yang Zhao took the old phone and showed it to him. Uncle, look, it's broken and can't be used. I'll ask my brother to buy a new one later. I don't need this old one. Besides, it's not a rare item. Almost everyone in our place has one. It's natural for me to honor you. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Shenryu praised Yang Zhao for being filial, took the new phone and power bank and left. Yang Zhao let out a long sigh and collapsed on the bed. After calming down for a while, he sent a message to Yang Yun and asked him to buy a new phone and power bank. Then he edited the video of the boat ride in the past 2 days with the old phone and sent it to the internet. The comments section was filled with interactions from 2 months ago, and a large number of fans had also decreased, with only more than 40,000 people left. 2 hours later, she received a new mobile phone and a solar charger. She sighed while holding her new phone and didn't want to do anything, so she fell into a deep sleep. At dawn the next day, Yang Zhao received a WeChat message from his brother. The residue on the towel has been analyzed. In addition to the substances found in sweat, there are also heavy metals, trans fatty acids, and a large number of plastic particles. I didn't expect that cultivation could force out plastic particles in the body. This could shock the entire scientific community. But she didn't have time to waste and still went to the dental clinic where she rented a house yesterday to find a job as planned. The dental clinic here is much larger than the one in Kangcheng, and there are many people looking for jobs there. There are 10 huge wooden signs in the yard on which the recruitment requirements and wages are written. Each sign has a small metal block hanging on it, reading the content written on the wooden sign. For the illiterate Yang Zhao, this is really friendly. She squeezed in and heard signs after signs. There were jobs for security guards, workshops, and tutors. There were quite a few tutors, and the prices were not low. As expected, no matter which world you are in, education costs money, and parents who can afford it are all competing internally. Yang Zhao heard about a job teaching mathematics, turned around and squeezed out of the crowd, looking for the boy next to her. There were many people standing in front of the boy, and Yang Zhao was queuing behind her. It took a long time before it was her turn. The boy held a pen in one hand and a piece of paper with the other, and asked without raising his head, "Have you found a satisfactory job?" Yang Zhao, on the 7th sign, "There is a gentleman who needs help with arithmetic. I want to apply for this job." The boy quickly found the job and carefully explained the requirements. The son of this family is going to take the entrance exam for the Huanglangang Prefecture School. There are only 2 months left. His parents want to make up for their son's arithmetic grades. As long as you can pass their test, you can get 10 taels of silver a month. If you make obvious progress, you can get more. Are you sure you want to choose this job? Yang Zhao nodded. The young man took the paper, handed it to Yang Zhao, and stamped her hand. 1 tael of silver. If you are not selected, you can return it. This is the address of the other party's mansion. You have to go quickly. Many people are looking for this job. After all, the money is high. Why stamp it? Yang Zhao was puzzled. This stamp has my spiritual power, so that no one can pretend to be you to collect the agency fee. The young man explained. Thank you very much. She took the paper, handed over 1 tael of silver, and turned away. It has been changed. Don't feel embarrassed. In fact, I'm very happy that someone can find out the mistakes in my article. It makes me feel that there is no single player. I want to thank you. I hope more friends will leave me a message to correct the mistakes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35, Teacher. When Yang Zhao arrived at the address on the recruitment form, she knew that the young man from the dental shop was right. Facing such a high-paying job, there were indeed many applicants. There were more than a dozen people standing at the door, each holding a recruitment form in their hands. She looked carefully and found that she was the only woman. However, there were 2 sturdy servants standing outside the tall door. Whenever people asked when they could go in, they just asked the applicants to wait a little longer. Everyone waited outside the door for a while, and a middle-aged man who looked like a butler came out of the side door next to it. He smiled and bowed to everyone. I'm the butler of the master's family. My surname is Liu. I have met you here. You are all here to apply to be the arithmetic teacher of my son, but we want to find an arithmetic teacher who can teach. As he said, he took out a test paper from his sleeve. Please look, everyone. This is a common exam paper in the prefectural school. Whoever can explain the last big question to my son and he can understand it will be the math teacher. If not, then I'm sorry, this job is not suitable for you. As he said that, he signaled to the servant next to him, and the servant took out more than a dozen test papers from behind the door, and gave one to each applicant outside. Yang Zhao took the test paper, and took a rough look at it. She found that the test questions on it were not very tricky, but the knowledge points involved were quite mixed. The last big question was a mixed calculation question, which was not beyond her ability. I say, housekeeper Liu, the test paper you brought is for senior students in the prefectural school. Even if I explain this question, your son won't understand it. Yes, let alone 2 months. Even if they study for 3 to 5 years, there will still be people who can't answer this last big question. Aren't you making things difficult for us? That's right. The applicants present were talking about it, and Yang Zhao also understood it. It was indeed a bit too much for the teacher to let the junior high school students do the college entrance examination paper all of a sudden. However, she flipped through the test paper again and had a bottom line in her heart. In terms of exam-oriented education, she was not afraid of others. After graduating from exam-oriented education to normal school, housekeeper Liu, I can do this job. Housekeeper Liu's eyes lit up, but the moment he saw Yang Zhao in the crowd, he hesitated. This lady, it's not that I, old Liu, am going back on my word. It's really that my son has grown up. Men and women should not be intimate with each other, and you are not suitable. Yang Zhao was stunned for a moment. She thought of various reasons for being rejected, but she never thought of being kicked out because of her gender. But Manager Liu, madam, no matter how well you teach, if it's not suitable, it's not suitable. Please go back. Yang Zhao felt like he was holding back his breath. But the tutoring industry is like this. Parents always want to find a graduate student from Tsinghua University or Peking University to teach their children in the first and second grades of junior high school, and the older the children are, the more gender restrictions there will be. Hey, Manager Liu, the eldest son doesn't want a female teacher, but our young lady does. Are you only thinking about the eldest son and forgetting about our young lady? An old nanny came out. She was dressed cleanly and decently, and followed by a little girl. With disdain on her face, Manager Liu replied, what are you talking about, Nanny Wang? Young miss is already being taught arithmetic by Mr. Wu. Wouldn't it be offensive to find another teacher? Nanny Wang, Manager Liu, I didn't come out to argue with you. I just want to bring this female teacher in to compete with Mr. Wu. Whoever is better will teach young miss. Manager Liu, anyone wants to compete with Mr. Wu? If you let me find one myself, I can find more teachers to compete with Mr. Wu. The two looked at each other for a while, and Manager Liu smiled disdainfully. Okay, since Nanny Wang likes this female teacher, you can bring her in. But if you drive Mr. Wu away, don't regret it. He glared at Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao was innocent. How could she offend someone just by coming to apply for a job? Nanny Wang walked up to her and asked softly, Madam, my young lady will also take the examination for the government school in 2 months. As long as you have the ability to beat Mr. Wu, our young lady will pay you an extra 5 taels of silver every month to be her teacher. How about that? Yang Zhao, who didn't want to cause trouble, began to despise his own cowardice. This young lady was obviously studious, so how could he live up to her kindness? Don't worry, old man. I have been taking examinations for 16 years, since I was a child. No one knows how to take examinations better than me. Leave the young lady to me, I can definitely do it. Nanny Wang also laughed. Then follow me into the mansion. The applicants next to them were anxious, and a few brave ones stopped Nanny Wang on the spot and recommended themselves to her. But at this moment, the chief steward Liu stood up and stopped the other applicants loudly. My young lady is 16 or 17 this year. Men and women should not be intimate with each other. You are not suitable to teach the young lady. Nanny Wang sneered and led Yang Zhao into the mansion. The courtyard was very large. Yang Zhao followed her through many twists and turns and came to the outside of a porch. Through the thin screen window, he could hear an old man's voice chattering inside. I've said it before, why would a girl like you take the entrance exam to the provincial academy? Look at your answers to the test questions. Any street boy can answer better than you. A girl like you who has no talent should just get married and have children early. Why take the entrance exam to the academy? Sir, I really don't know how to do this question. Please give me some advice. The voice was soft and bright, belonging to a young woman. Do you need to explain this kind of question? Everyone can understand it with just a glance. If you ask me some difficult questions, I'll still be interested in explaining it to you. How dare you ask such a simple question? Nanny Wang outside was filled with anger, but she still whispered to Yang Zhao, female teacher, you don't have to listen to his nonsense. All the previous teachers praised our eldest daughter for her intelligence and talent. However, since she came to his hands half a year ago, her math scores have not improved at all. Yang Zhao had already understood that Mr. Wu inside was not here to teach students. He was here to attack people. You can't be polite to such a person. A teacher is to impart knowledge and solve doubts. Now you don't even help students solve their doubts. What kind of teacher are you? She took the lead and entered the porch. There were 3 people in Bangsha. A thin old man was sitting on a chair and glaring at Yang Zhao fiercely. A girl of about 16 or 17, wearing a goose yellow dress, holding a test paper in her hand. She should be the eldest lady, and there was a little maid standing next to her, pouring tea and water. Where did this shrew come from? How dare she act wildly in front of me? Aunt Wang, why don't you kick her out now? Yang Zhao ignored him, but walked to the young lady and said softly, Miss, can you show me your test paper? The eldest lady glanced at Aunt Wang behind her, and then handed over the test paper in her hand. Thank you readers for pointing out my mistakes. You are also welcome to point out mistakes. Chapter 36, Mr. Yang Zhao took it and looked at it. There was only a geometry problem copied on it. The problem itself was not difficult, but the difficulty was that the question setter took several detours and gave several useless conditions to interfere with the students. Mr. Wu saw that no one paid attention to him, and he became anxious. I said, Wan Ma, you didn't hear what I told you just now, right? Hurry up and beat this bitch out of here, otherwise I will never visit your eldest daughter again. Everyone still ignored him. Yang Zhao picked up a pen and led the eldest daughter to the table next to him, explaining the conditions one by one to her. When he was halfway through the question, the eldest daughter's eyes lit up. Sir, I understand. She also took a pen and started writing on the paper. What are you writing? What are you writing? Do you think I'm a dead person? Suddenly, Mr. Wu rushed over from the side, grabbed the test paper on the table, and tore it up. Yang Zhao also slapped the pen on the table with a smack. Mr. Wu, you should have professional ethics as a teacher. Outsiders can't see what you did, but I, an expert, can see it clearly. She sneered at Mr. Wu. You don't want face or reputation anymore, right? If you don't want it, fine. I'll take out 5 taels of silver and find dozens of beggars outside to spread your actions to the whole Huanglang port. How about I help you make a name for yourself? Mr. Wu was so angry that his face turned red and he raised his arm and hit her. Yang Zhao turned around and hid a few steps to the side, shouting loudly, hey, come and see, this teacher has started to beat women. Seeing this, Nanny Wang next to them stood between the two. Mr. Wu, no matter what happened, you hit a woman first, isn't that wrong? Mr. Wu also understood. Well, I was wondering why the young lady became so tough today. It turns out that you found a new teacher for her. What can such a shrew hand over? I'll wait for you to come to my house and kneel down to beg me to come back. After saying that, he left with a flick of his sleeves. Yang Zhao was not satisfied when he saw him leave, so he leaned on the door frame and shouted outside. Still kneeling and begging you to come back? How can you be so shameless? You are as black-hearted as coal, and you still have the nerve to say that I'm a shrew. I'm a shrew, but I won't harm my students. Mr. Wu walked even faster and disappeared in a flash. The young lady inside looked at her curiously and asked Nanny Wang next to her softly, Mammy, is this the new teacher you found for me? Mammy Wang, yes, I can't leave the house recently. It just so happens that the eldest son is looking for an arithmetic teacher today. The chief steward Liu took out a set of questions from the mansion school to embarrass people. Only this female teacher said she could do it, but the chief steward Liu rejected her on the grounds that men and women should not touch each other. I thought that someone who could say such a thing must be quite capable, so I brought him here for you to see. Yes, I'm Yang Zhao, and I'm here to apply to be your arithmetic teacher. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. If I can't explain this question clearly, it must be my fault. You can fire me at any time. Yang Zhao walked over and said to her with a smile. The eldest lady was a little embarrassed. Sir, to be honest with you, my arithmetic level is really not that good, and I haven't made any progress in the past 6 months. I understood the problem you explained just now, after you only taught half of it, which shows that you are very knowledgeable. Now you are the only one who thinks I'm stupid, not me who thinks you are stupid. Yang Zhao understood that she was pulled by that scumbag, which made her lack confidence in her learning ability. But for someone who hasn't studied seriously for half a year, she already had an idea to solve a geometry problem after only explaining half of it. How could such a student be stupid? Miss, you don't have to be too unconfident about yourself. Nanny Wan once told me that all your former teachers have praised you. You have to believe in the vision of your former teachers. Let's not talk too much. You only have 2 months. Let's divide the content of the Jiangfu exam into key points and then study them one by one. How about it? The young lady nodded gratefully. Sir, thank you very much, but I have other subjects to study every afternoon. I can only spare 2 hours in the morning. There are only 2 months left before the exam. I'm afraid I can't study at all. Yang Zhao, don't worry, I'm the best at exams. We can't learn all the knowledge points, but we can get the most points from the simplest things. Believe me, if I don't have some skills, I wouldn't dare to take such a job. The young lady was obviously very excited. Then Ruojuan would like to thank you here. Don't worry, even if I don't do well in the exam in 2 months, the tuition will be paid. If I can pass the exam, even if I don't pass the exam, if my math score is good, I will give you a red envelope of 20 taels. Then I'd like to thank Miss Ruojuan right here. Yang Zhao also became excited. It turned out that being lavished with money felt so good. She decided to prepare her lessons carefully when she returned. She would definitely open all the examination papers of the previous provincial school entrance examinations and find out all the little habits of the person who wrote the examination papers. She was busy all morning and Miss Ruojuan invited her to have a meal at noon. After eating, Yang Zhao followed the little girl out of the house, holding the examination papers of the previous provincial school and the newly acquired paper and pen. After returning to his residence, Yang Zhao went into the house and did not come out. Shenroi knocked on the door from outside. Yang Zhao, why did you come back at this time? Is it difficult to find a job? Why did you hide in the room? Did someone bully you? Yang Zhao hurriedly opened the door to explain. No, master, how could I be bullied? Besides, I have found a job, and I get 15 taels of silver a month. Shenroi was also shocked by the amount of silver and said, what kind of job is so valuable? Yang Zhao, as a tutor, how can I pay for education? Master, I have to prepare for the class with all my strength, otherwise I will be sorry for the 15 taels of silver. Shenroi nodded in agreement. Okay, since the other party has invited you, you should teach them well, and don't let them feel that the money is wasted. Then he turned and left. Yang Zhao also went back to the room, put out paper and pen, and began to review the exam questions of previous generations. Shenroi had nothing to do, so he took his mobile phone and went out. He also knew that good things should be hidden a little, but the camera and video functions were really amazing, and he couldn't stop playing with them. This morning he even took pictures of the little bugs in the yard. This afternoon he would go find something else to record. It would be best if he could find some giant monsters. The pictures would be really good. For someone who has never been good at painting since he was a child, this camera concealed the fact that he was clumsy. Chapter 37, Big Bird. Yang Zhao was writing lesson plans in the room, and when she was writing so hard, Shenroi pulled her out of the room. No matter how much you think about work, you have to practice every day. Hurry up and practice a few times for me. I'll record a video. He was seen looking for angles up and down beside him without any teacher. Hey, look at me, look at me. You have to show your momentum. No, the last one didn't look good. Do it again. Eyes, pay attention to the eyes. Okay, I won't say anything. You practice well. Yang Zhao cooperated with him breathlessly and was very puzzled in his heart. With only a mobile phone and no internet, are you so addicted to playing videos? Master, I really can't do it anymore. I can't practice anymore. Stop. Shenryu pouted in disdain. Young people nowadays, their physical strength is really not good. Okay, go wash up. Look at you sweaty. After that, she happily flipped through the videos on his mobile phone. After Yang Zhao finished cleaning up, he also went over to see what he had recorded today. In his cell phone album, there were giant land beasts, snake-tailed strange people, fire-breathing insects, and she even saw a big bird with a big box in its claws. Yang Zhao pointed at the big bird excitedly. Master, what is this? Shenryu, Zuanpeng bird. Although this bird looks big, it is actually quite stupid. This one should be working in Huanglang port, serving as a means of transportation to some dangerous places. Yang Zhao's hands were shaking, so the box under its feet is used to carry passengers? How big is it? Don't make a fuss. It's not that big. The wingspan is more than 4 feet, and there are only a dozen people in the box. It can't hold more than that. 4 feet is more than 12 meters, and its load-bearing capacity is at least more than 2,000 kilograms. This is not scientific. The largest eagle known in his hometown has a wingspan of only 7 or 8 meters. It looks more like a pterosaur than a bird in the sky, but birds are dinosaurs, so it's the same. Is this because of the oxygen concentration? Yang Zhao was puzzled and smiled as he went over to discuss with Shenryu, wanting to get some interesting videos and photos from him. Shenryu, how to upload? You said yesterday that there is no internet here and it can't be used. Yang Zhao smiled and said, we can use Bluetooth to transmit. It's very simple to teach you. She took out her mobile phone and began to teach Shenryu how to use Bluetooth to transmit things. After he learned how to play, Yang Zhao took the mobile phone back to the house and began to edit the video of the black rock bird and clicked to send it to the internet. After looking through the comments under the previous video, some were old fans celebrating her return. Some were asking which river such a beautiful scenery was. However, the comment with the highest number of likes was, do you think the video blogger posted a video of the scenery in the river? This is a 3D special effects production. Didn't you notice that there are 2 big fish under the river, dragging the boat forward? Yang Zhao was also a little confused. She carefully reviewed the video again, and found that there were indeed 2 big fish under the river. Sure enough, netizens have sharp eyes. In the next few days, Yang Zhao taught Miss Ruojuan in the morning, and continued to write lesson plans in the afternoon. After these few days of getting along, she also knew some gossip about Miss Ruojuan. Miss Ruojuan's parents were officials in other places. In order to pass the examination for the prefectural school, she returned to the old house in Huanglang in advance to prepare for the examination. Her parents entrusted her to her second uncle who lived in the old house and asked them to take care of their daughter. Her second uncle and second aunt did not have much success and stayed in Huanglang to do some business, but it was said that their eldest son was very smart and wanted to pass the examination for the prefectural school this time. The 2 cousins became competitors. No matter which family, it is impossible to have abundant cultivation resources, so Miss Ruojuan got a very famous arithmetic master in Huanglang, but this arithmetic master looked down on women. After finally finishing the lesson plan, Yang Zhao came to Xingyuan Kame Hall that afternoon. This Kame Hall is much larger than Zhao's. As soon as she walked to the door, a young man greeted her enthusiastically. Sir, do you want to buy some elixirs, or ask about the pulse opening? Yang Zhao, young man, I want to ask, is there a girl named Zhao from Kangcheng in your pulse opening shop? The young man's smile became more sincere. Oh, sir, are you also from Kangcheng? Yes, Yang Zhao from Kangcheng. Please come in first, and wait a moment, I will go to find our cousin. The young man greeted people, gave Yang Zhao a cup of tea, and went to find someone inside. After a while, Miss Zhao ran in from the back. "Sister Yang Zhao, why did you come to see me just now?" Yang Zhao was a little embarrassed by the girl's enthusiasm. "I have been looking for a job these days, and I came to see you, just after I settled down. I knew that sister would not forget me. Come on, I will take you to visit inside." Miss Zhao grabbed her hand and led her to the yard. There were many couples holding children waiting in the yard, and they should all come to open their children's pulses. Yang Zhao pointed to the rooms used for opening pulses and asked, "Miss Zhao, can I see how you open pulses?" Miss Zhao looked at her in surprise. "Sister, are you also interested in opening pulses?" "Actually, there is nothing to see. The most exciting part is to use acupuncture to locate acupoints according to the pulse map, but it is not allowed for others to watch. The child at the back just floats there motionless, which is also very boring." Yang Zhao smiled embarrassedly. "I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. I also want to learn how to open pulses." "Sister, a pulse opener is a public position. Except for people like me who have a family background in learning, most people have to go to the government school to study. Only those who come out of it can open pulses for people outside." Miss Zhao looked a little apologetic. After all, the meridians of thousands of creatures are different. How to find them still depends on years of study. Yang Zhao hurriedly shook his head. "Miss Zhao, you misunderstood. I'm not learning to open the meridians to make money. I just want to learn how to use acupuncture to locate acupoints. If there is a chance in the future, I will also open the meridians for my younger brother." Miss Zhao was stunned, and then she remembered that Yang Zhao was very clear about her own meridians and acupoints, but she just didn't know how to use acupuncture to locate acupoints. She thought about it, but still didn't dare to make a decision. "I can't make the decision on this matter. I have to ask my aunt if it's okay." Yang Zhao bowed gratefully. "Thank you for your help, Miss Zhao. Whether this matter succeeds or not, you opened this mouth for me, which is enough for me to remember for a lifetime." The little girl smiled embarrassedly and led her to a tea room to sit down. "Sister Yang Zhao, you drink tea here first. I will go to ask my aunt." After saying that, she left in a hurry. After waiting for a cup of tea, a middle-aged woman came over accompanied by Miss Zhao. Chapter 38, Acupuncture and Acupuncture Points. Seeing this, Yang Zhao stood up quickly. Miss Zhao pointed at her and said, "Aunt, this is the Sister Yang Zhao I mentioned." "Sister Yang Zhao, this is my aunt." Yang Zhao greeted her quickly. "Junior greets aunt." The aunt smiled and waved her hand quickly. "You are Zhao's friend. No need to be polite. Sit down." Both parties sat down, and Yang Zhao poured a cup of tea for the aunt attentively. Junior is really shameless this time, and made such an embarrassing request, but I can promise that, whether you agree or not, I will remember Miss Zhao's kindness. The aunt did not respond to her words, and quietly sipped the tea for a while before speaking. "I understand what you mean. I just heard from Zhao that Miss Yang Zhao is familiar with your own meridians. Do you have more clansmen in your family? As long as you learn how to open the meridians of your clansmen, you can make a lot of money." The old ginger is spicy, and the words hit the point at once. Of course, the most important thing is that the human body has 12 meridians and 8 extraordinary meridians, a total of 20 meridians, and the pulse map is too precious here, so she only dared to let Miss Zhao open 4 extraordinary meridians for her. This meridian opening must be learned, otherwise the lifeblood of cultivation will be controlled by others. Yang Zhao could only smile shamefully as she meant it. "Nothing can be hidden from your eyes, old man. I do have that idea, but the high price of opening meridians is also one aspect. There are many poor people and few rich people in our place. Those who can come here to open meridians through the teleportation formation are all rich people, but I want to give poor children some hope." The lady smiled gently. "You are still naive. Logically, I shouldn't agree to this, but Zhao kept saying good things to me, and I couldn't bear to refuse. How about this? As long as you agree to one condition of mine, I will agree to let Zhao teach you. How about it?" Yang Zhao's heart sank, and he estimated that this condition would not be easy to fulfill. "Please go ahead. In 7 or 8 days, There will be a meteor shower on the falling star island, more than 300 miles away from Huanglang port. You only need to find a pound of silver concentrate in those meteorites and use it to make needles for Xiao. Of course, you can buy it if you have money. When Xiao heard the conditions, she pulled her aunt's sleeve embarrassedly. Aunt, I don't need these things. Yang Zhao on the side was confused. Most of the meteor showers were burned up in the sky. Even if they fell, the location could not be predicted in advance. But judging from what people said, this should be normal. I'm not refusing, but can I ask where to buy the silver crystal ore? Do you have to get the silver crystal ore from the meteorite? You can buy it if you want. 7 or 8 days later, when the meteor shower comes, you'll naturally see silver crystal ore on the market. 1 pound won't cost much silver. Just prepare 300 to 500 teals. As for this silver crystal ore, it's really not a rare thing. There are mines near Kangcheng. But if you want to make needles, it's naturally the silver crystal ore that falls from the sky and is calcined by heavenly fire that's best. Yang Zhao took a breath. What does 300 to 500 teals mean? With her current salary as a tutor, she would have to save up for 2 to 4 years without eating or drinking. Xiao was getting angry. Aunt, I really don't need such good needles. How can the ability of acupuncture and acupuncture be worth so much money? With this money, can't Sister Yang Zhao go to the government school to learn it? The aunt sat there and kept winking at Xiao, but Xiao ignored her. She grabbed Yang Zhao's hand and stood up, saying goodbye to her aunt. Aunt, Yang Zhao and I really disturbed you today. She will come to talk to you next time. After saying that, she bowed, dragged Yang Zhao and ran away. The two ran out of the Kame hall and stood by the road. Xiao was a little unhappy. Yang Zhao comforted her softly. Miss Xiao, since I want to learn your skills, it is normal for me to pay tuition. You don't have to offend your aunt for this. I know this truth, but the aunt is really too much. She just bullied you because you just came here and don't know anything. So she said that to deceive you. The silver crystal ore is indeed rare, and the needles made from it are indeed useful, but it doesn't take a pound of silver crystal ore. I wouldn't have asked the aunt if I had known. Yang Zhao realized that the aunt deliberately opened her mouth wide to bite off a piece of fat from her. Miss Xiao, did your aunt know about the Fang family in Kangcheng? Sister, how did you know? My grandfather and aunt told me the day I first came here. Xiao asked in surprise. Yang Zhao didn't know at first, but when the aunt easily said 300 or 500 teals of silver, she had a bottom line in her heart. After all, she was still wearing the coarse linen clothes she bought from Kangcheng. She didn't look like a rich person who could easily spend 300 or 500 teals of silver. Miss Xiao, you don't have to blame yourself. I just said that, whether this matter succeeds or not, I'm grateful to you. Miss Xiao, it is rare that you can ask your elders for this for me. We will always be good friends. Sister Yang Zhao, you don't have to be discouraged. After a few days, when I'm less strict here, I will come to you. I will teach you how to use acupuncture and locate acupoints. Just don't think my skills are poor. Yang Zhao was shocked. She really didn't expect Miss Xiao to be so innocent and kind, and her behavior was more like a bad person who deceived her. That was a huge sin. Yang Zhao, Miss Xiao, your aunt just said that you can go to the star chasing island to pick them up yourself in 7 or 8 days. By then, I will pay for the travel expenses. It won't cost more than 300 or 500 teals of silver. But Xiao still refused. Sister Yang Zhao, it is very dangerous to go to the falling star island. It is not worth it to ignore your own safety for such a thing. Yang Zhao laughed. Thank you for your concern, Miss Xiao. I will just go and take a look. If there is no danger, I will go there to find silver crystal mines. If there is danger, I will withdraw. Although I can't buy a pound of silver crystal mines at that time, it is enough to buy some of my silver first, and then slowly collect it for you later. I can't let you suffer. Miss Xiao, Sister Yang Zhao, you really don't have to be so honest, you will be deceived. After saying that, they both laughed. After laughing, she took out a piece of green leaf from her arms. Sister Yang Zhao, in fact, the real key point of acupuncture is not the needle, but this vein leaf in my hand. Why is it so expensive to open the vein? It's expensive because of this vain leaf. Chapter 39. Leaf. Yang Zhao looked at the leaf in Xiao's hand. It was slender in shape, emerald green in color, and thick in flesh, looking full of vitality. Miss Xiao handed the leaf to Yang Zhao. Look, this is the leaf you used when you opened your meridians. It was also the only time you succeeded, so you see it is still so emerald green now. Yang Zhao looked at the leaf in disbelief and carefully felt the feel of the leaf, but it was just the feel of an ordinary leaf, and he didn't see anything magical. Miss Xiao, how long has this leaf been in your hand? How long? Miss Xiao thought for a while and said, 2 years, right? You also know that my technique is not good, and I rarely use this leaf, so I kept it for so many years. The resentment in the last 2 sentences was simply bursting out of the sky. Yang Zhao quickly changed the subject. What is the use of this leaf in opening the meridians? Xiao, the silver needle should lead the energy in the vein leaf to the acupuncture point. 3 acupuncture points determine 1 meridian. Its spiritual power can automatically spread forward along the meridian until these spiritual energies are connected together to successfully open the meridians. Moreover, its spiritual energy is extremely gentle and is most suitable for people who have not yet opened their meridians. Yang Zhao returned the leaf to Miss Xiao. This looks very expensive. You should keep it well. Miss Xiao took the leaf and stuffed it back into her arms, saying, it is quite expensive. A good one costs 70 or 80 taels. A poor one like mine costs 20 or 30 taels. The number of times a leaf can be used is still limited. In short, it is very expensive. Yang Zhao, good things are naturally expensive. Is this the only kind of vein leaf used for opening the meridians? There should be several kinds, but I have only seen this one. She chatted with Miss Xiao for a while, and when it was getting dark, she said goodbye and went home. On the way, I was thinking about the Falling Star Island. It was definitely impossible to go to the provincial school. The entrance examination for the provincial school required many subjects. Without several years of hard work, it would definitely not be possible to pass. Yang Zhao didn't want to waste time on this, so the method of opening meridians from Xiao was the most cost-effective way for her. As soon as she entered the yard, she heard Shenroi shouting in the house, Yang Zhao, hurry up and practice. I need to urge you to practice every day. Is it you who practices or me? Yang Zhao. These words sounded like what her mother said when she was a child. It was a bit awkward to hear it shouted by her master. Yang Zhao practiced quickly, packed up, and knocked on Shenroi's door. Master, do you know where Falling Star Island is? Today's master was also playing with his mobile phone. Hearing this, he raised his face. Falling Star Island? Calculating the time, we are about to pass by Falling Star Island. What? You want to go there? It's dangerous there these days. Yang Zhao had to repeat the request made by Xiao's aunt. Shenroi finally put down the phone. Oh, that's difficult. No one is sure what kind of meteorite mine they can find during the meteor shower on Falling Star Island. You will have to exchange with others on the island. But I have to tell you in advance that Falling Star Island is very dangerous during the days of the meteor shower. I can't go there as a ghost now. You can only face it by yourself. By the way, didn't Miss Xiao say that she could teach you first? You can slowly collect money or tell your parents and ask them to help think of a solution. Yang Zhao was silent. To be honest, since she came here, she has been avoiding danger and hiding as much as possible. She never takes risks for money. But Xiao is a kind girl. She really treats herself as a friend. Such pure feelings cannot be tainted by herself. Besides, on the other side of her hometown, 300 taels of silver cost at least 70,000 yuan. She doesn't have enough equal value to exchange. If she wants to have autonomy in this relationship, she can't rely too much on that side. As for her parents, the old couple might be able to get some if they try their best, and they will never be stingy. But she is already an adult and doesn't want to ask her parents for money anymore. Seeing Yang Zhao silent, Shenroi understood her intention. If you have made up your mind, then you should ask Miss Ruojuan for leave tomorrow, and you should leave the day after tomorrow at the latest. 3 or 4 days before the meteor shower, the Falling Star Island will be closed, and you won't be able to enter at that time. Yang Zhao nodded silently, then found a few new videos from Shenruo's mobile phone and transferred them to his own mobile phone. He returned to his room to edit and send them. Today's video account update task is completed again. He casually flipped through the comments below. Am I the only one who thinks this is better than many special effects movies in China? You are not the only one. I saw the money being burned. Is it true that every video is trying to copy China? If she had that ability, would she still be a small video blogger? That's right. There are too many video bloggers who do special effects now. They copy China every day. Some people wear glasses because their eyes are not good. Isn't this a big production? Look at the fur on the beasts in the video. The design is the same as the real thing. There is no sense of disobedience. These are all people who have received 9 years of compulsory education. Don't they know that they are good at speaking? Don't talk about special effects. Just look at the buildings and people in her videos. You will know that the cost is not cheap. This is definitely a conscientious big production. Sure enough, this verbal battle is to attract traffic. The praisers and critics fought under the video, which made Yang Zhao gain thousands of fans at once. The key is that Yang Zhao doesn't have to bother writing the script. She just needs to edit it. Yang Zhao thought about it and changed the profile of her video avatar. My world is open to you. Let us step into the cultivation together. Click OK to complete the change. Then she stayed up all night to carefully plan the lesson plan for the next half month, and even came up with more than a dozen comprehensive questions in a row, so that Miss Ruojuan could continue to study independently in the days when she was away. The next day, after Yang Zhao finished teaching Miss Ruojuan, he told her that he wanted to ask for leave. To be honest, it was not a good thing for her to do this. How could she leave the college entrance examination candidates and run away? But she had no other choice. She took out the lesson plan she wrote late at night and gave it to Miss Ruojuan and took the initiative to discuss with her that she did not want this month's salary. Miss Ruojuan, who was standing aside, had a strange look in her eyes after hearing this and asked, "Sir, are you going to the Falling Star Island to watch the meteor shower? I have never seen it since I was a child. My father promised me that he would take me to see it once when I was admitted to the prefectural school. Sir, you don't have to worry about me. Your lesson plan is so detailed that I can learn most of it myself. The rest can be explained when you come back. As for the salary, I will pay it as much as I want." Nanny Wang next to her looked very unhappy and her mouth opened and closed. Because Yang Zhao is really good at teaching. The previous masters who taught arithmetical tested the students' flexibility of thinking. If the students' thinking was not flexible, they would not explain it in detail. But Yang Zhao is systematic, sorting out the problems step by step from easy to difficult. He has a good temper and will not lose his temper when his daughter makes a mistake on a simple question. He is the most suitable husband for Miss Ruojuan. Some readers have reported that my new name is not as good as the original one, but I only have 87 collections, so I can only choose a slightly more eye-catching name to trick people into clicking in. I originally wanted to change my introduction to something more melodramatic, but the editor-in-chief rejected it and said it was not well written. Chapter 40, Pulling Beans. Yang Zhao felt warm in his heart and said, "Thank you Miss Ruojuan for your understanding, but I really can't accept this month's salary." Miss Ruojuan smiled embarrassedly. "Actually, I have to give this salary because I want to ask you for a favor." Yang Zhao, "What's the matter, miss? Just tell me." Miss Ruojuan's eyes showed a yearning look, and she said, "I also want to go to the Falling Star Island, but I still have to work hard to get into the prefectural school. I can't go this year, so I want to ask you to bring me some beans, so that I can see with my own eyes the spectacular sight of thousands of meteors falling to the ground." "Beans? What is that?" Yang Zhao asked in confusion. "I don't know what beans are. What should I do when I get to the island?" Miss Ruojuan winked at Nanny Wang, and Nanny Wang excused herself and went out. After a while, she put a small box on the table and opened the small box. There were more than a dozen yellow-green beans in it, only the size of soybeans, which looked very inconspicuous. "Sir, please look, this is the traction bean. Take a few of them." When you arrive at the Falling Star Island, add some mana to the beans, and I will be able to travel there and see what the Falling Star Island looks like with my own eyes. Yang Zhao was a little dumbfounded. This was similar to virtual reality technology. Miss Ruojian, is it dangerous to use this? What if I get robbed? Ruojian smiled confidently. Don't worry, sir. This small box of traction beans is all top grade. When I encounter danger, it will send me back instantly. It's just the loss of one bean, which is no big deal. If one bean is destroyed, you can use the next one to call me again. Yang Zhao nodded in agreement. I can help you take it up, but it's best not to affect your studies. Miss Ruojian was very happy. Sir, I will be self-disciplined. She took 3 beans from the box and put them in her arms. After saying goodbye to them, she hurried home. As soon as she entered the door, Yang Zhao started shouting, Grandmaster, Grandmaster, look at this bean. Do you recognize it? But looking left and right, Shenroi was not at home, probably out taking pictures and videos again. She couldn't calm down in the house, so she could only run around in the yard, and the floor was worn thin by her. In the end, she had no choice but to practice first. It was already evening when Shenroi came back. Seeing Yang Zhao panting, just after taking a shower, she was a little relieved. You are sensible today. Since you know how to practice, it's not bad. Keep it up. Yang Zhao. She couldn't respond to this and skipped it. Yang Zhao took out the bean from his arms and asked him excitedly, Grandmaster, look at the bean in my hand. Do you recognize it? Isn't this the fairy bean? What's so exciting? Shenroi thought it was something good. Yang Zhao was overjoyed. Grandmaster, do you know what this is? Shenroi, I know. Such a common thing, you should know it too. Impossible. She definitely doesn't know about this kind of thing. Yang Zhao, Grandmaster, don't tease me. Shenroi, why am I teasing you? You're giving me silver? You haven't seen magic beans. Don't you know the illusion of throwing beans to make soldiers? Yang Zhao, I know. But isn't that a myth? Shenroi rolled her eyes at her. Then am I a myth? I'm still standing here. You were not a myth 20 years before me. You were a ghost story. TV stations banned it. Yang Zhao smiled. Grandmaster, that's not what I meant. Can you make this magic bean? No, and this magic bean must be planted first. Besides, the magic bean in your hand has been improved and is very different from the previous ones. By the way, where did you get these in your hand? Yang Zhao told Miss Ruojian what she asked him to do. Oh, the magic beans are really good in this regard, but not in other ways. At first, they were created for war, but they were vulnerable. Later, they were used for exploration, but they were still banned. This thing is useless. Don't waste money and energy on it. What do you mean by wasting money and energy? Exclamation mark. How could such a great invention be a waste of money and energy? Yang Zhao, Grandmaster, do you think my brother can use this magic bean to come over here and take a look? Shenroi's face became serious. Do you know how far you two are from each other? Yes. Since you know, you should know that it is impossible for your brother to come over here with just the magic bean. Yang Zhao's eyes lit up when he heard it. If you can't come over with just one magic bean, then just add something else, right? So you still need incense, right? Shenroi was puzzled. I say, Kit, why don't you cherish incense? Besides, your brother is just a mortal now, without any spiritual power. Can he cast the magic spell? If he doesn't know the magic spell, no matter how much incense you use, it's useless. Yang Zhao, then Grandmaster, do you know the magic spell? Yes. Shenroi answered her unhappily. Yang Zhao tried hard to learn the green tea tutorial in the online short video, and began to act coquettishly. Grandmaster, my good Grandmaster, can you teach me? Please. Shenroi felt goosebumps all over his body, even though he no longer had skin. Speak nicely to me. Grandmaster, good Grandmaster Zhao begs you. Shenroi was so disgusted that he nodded in agreement. I knew that Grandmaster was the best to me. You want to learn? Okay, I'll teach you after you come back from Falling Star Island. Yang Zhao, thank you, Grandmaster. Yang Zhao was so excited that he couldn't sit still and walked around in the yard. Shenroi was dizzy because of her and knocked on the table to ask her to stop. Aren't you hungry? Eat and rest quickly. We have to go to Falling Star Island tomorrow. What are you doing wandering around in the yard? Yes. Grandmaster, can you show me what good videos you took today? Here you go. After Yang Zhao copied the video, he had another meal and finally went back to the room to edit the video with satisfaction. This time she chose a video of two women quarreling. One of them dragged a huge snake tail and looked charming and bright. The other had 3 horns on her head and looked like a queen. The two people quarreled in a veiled way over something. Both sides looked arrogant and casual, and their words were polite and decent. They insulted each other from hair to soles. Yang Zhao listened and translated at the same time, and she was very satisfied. She posted the video online with satisfaction, and then looked through the comments below, and found that the quarrel had stopped yesterday. After all, most of her fans followed her because of the foreign stupid videos, and they were not interested in quarrels. She was a small blogger with a transparent background. If she was not popular, she would not easily encounter those troubles. Chapter 41. Falling Star Island. Early the next morning, Shenroi sent Yang Zhao to the port, but compared to the pier next to it, that was deep in the water, this one was a platform about 10 meters high. There were 5 or 6 rectangular wooden houses on the platform, and a long metal pipe was placed horizontally on the small houses. There were 2 tables on the side of the platform, and 2 big men sat behind them to collect ticket money. Yang Zhao looked back at the busy pier next to him, and asked in confusion, "Master, shouldn't we take a boat to go out to sea? There are reefs near Falling Star Island, and ships can't dock there. If you want to go up, you can only fly from the air." Shenroi pointed at the 2 big men and said, "Go buy a ticket quickly." Yang Zhao went over to line up and ask the price. "It's 3 taels of silver per person to go to Falling Star Island." One of the big men replied, "This ticket is so expensive." Yang Zhao complained in her heart and obediently paid the money. The big man gave her a wooden sign with 5 bars and 10. "You are in the 5th compartment, seat 10. Many people went to Falling Star Island today. Some went in groups of 3 or 2, and there were also a few lone wolves like Yang Zhao." The big man sold all the tickets in his hand, stood up and shouted loudly, "Those who have tickets, hurry in and sit according to the ticket number. Those who don't have tickets, hide under the platform. The Black Rock is coming. We can't keep people up there. Hurry up." Those who had tickets obediently went in and sat according to the number, and those who didn't have tickets also got off the platform. Yang Zhao said goodbye to Shenroi and walked into compartment number 5. There was no decoration inside. You could only see that the whole room was painted with magic circles. There were 2 rows of fixed seats, 7 in each row, which could accommodate 14 people. She found a seat and sat down. When everyone in the compartment was gathered, the door of the compartment closed automatically. Yang Zhao sat there quietly, listening to the people in the compartment chatting. "Where is this black rock? Why can't I see it? The black rocks are all parked on a nearby cliff. Every time they set off, they take off from there. Ah, look, the black rock is coming." I saw several big birds flying in from the horizon one after another. As the distance got closer, the faces of these big bads became clearer and clearer. Its belly is grayish white feathers, and its back is dark blue. Except for its larger body, it has no special features. When the huge figure pressed down on everyone's heads, she saw that the sharp eagle claws were covered with golden scales. Yang Zhao felt her body become heavier, and then flew up with the house. The house flew higher and higher with the black rock bird, and flew farther and farther, and the coastline gradually disappeared. The black rock bird flew very steadily, and the people in the house did not feel any bumps. Unknown birds flew around the house, and a few even hit the wing room. Everyone praised the black rock bird for a few words, and the topic turned to the Falling Star Island. "I heard that this meteor shower is the biggest in the past 50 years. We have come at a good time, and will be able to pick up more meteorite ores." "What kind of a good time is this? The more meteors there are, the greater the danger. We don't know how many people will die in it this time. So don't be greedy. When you see a meteor, run away first. The most important thing is to save your life." "That's right. I also heard that, because the meteor shower is so big this time, Senior students from all the prefectural schools will come to join in the fun. Then we will have even fewer chances. Is this actually true? I thought people were joking at first. What does it have to do with us? Stay away from these chosen ones. If someone doesn't like you and starts a fight with you, you won't even be able to cry. Listening to gossip and looking at the sea view along the way, the journey was not boring. We've arrived at the Falling Star Island. How can a black penguin fly so fast? Yang Zhao looked forward and saw the island. From the sky, the island was an irregular oval. The vegetation on the island was not dense, and there were deep pits on it, which looked a bit like the surface of the moon. Suddenly, she felt her body getting lighter, and the island below was getting bigger and bigger. The black penguin lightly put the wing room on a high platform, and flew away without touching the ground. Yang Zhao looked over, and saw a towering cliff over there. With the weight of the black penguin, it couldn't fly without the help of the wind at a high altitude. After a while, the door opened and someone stood at the door to greet everyone. This is the Falling Star Island. All passengers can come out. Please return the passenger wooden sign in your hand to me. Yang Zhao came out of the wing room and saw a simple market in the distance. Seeing everyone walking towards the market, she followed behind. I heard there are 24 such markets on this island. If you encounter any danger, just run to the market. You were talking about a few years ago. This year, the number of markets has increased to 30. Brother, you are well informed. What's the matter with being well informed? I bought a map of Falling Star Island in advance, and it's all marked on it. Yang Zhao was shocked. She actually forgot to buy a map. It seems that she can only look for it in the market to see if there is one for sale. Since the popularity of mobile phones, maps have disappeared from her life. She has only seen two types of maps, that is, world maps and national maps. Although this market looks shabby and small, there are many people doing business. There are people selling fresh water and food, backpacks and tents, ready-made clothes and shoes, and 4 or 5 hotels. In a house in the center, there is a government logo hanging. It is used to store and exchange meteorite ores. There is a huge wooden map of the entire island at the door, and next to it there is a small vendor selling maps. This map costs 3 coins. From what her companion said, the price is more than twice as expensive as in Huanglang. But they couldn't live without a map, so they all paid for it. Yang Zhao also gritted her teeth and bought one. Although the map is expensive, it is indeed very detailed. It not only marks the locations of 30 markets, but also where there is fresh water and caves on the island. After buying the map, she didn't continue to shop, but quickly booked a room in the hotel. There are still 3 days before the real day, and more people will come by then. She is afraid that she will not be able to grab a room if she is too late. She can't live outside. The room rates and meals here are much more expensive than those in Huanglang. The meals are mostly fish and shrimp, and the only cooking methods are steaming and boiling, probably because they don't want to bring oil. Yang Zhao had lunch in the store, and the second brother recommended her the dry food produced by his family. Sir, please take a look at our dry food. It is hard and has no moisture at all. It is made of good grains and good fish. This small piece is enough for you to eat after soaking in water. If you don't want to use a bowl, you can just break off a small piece and put it in your mouth. Yang Zhao picked up a piece and smelled it. It smelled quite fragrant. He waved his hand and bought 15 pieces. The young man smiled and wrapped the dry food with oil paper and handed it to Yang Zhao. 1 teal of silver is a good deal. This is so expensive. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Water Wall. In the next half day, more and more people came. Some came on black rock birds, some came on spaceships, some came on beasts, some rode fish, some flew by themselves, and a few came with flying swords under their feet. In fact, Yang Zhao was not sure whether it was a sword. It looked strange and very different from the swords in her memory. She even saw someone flying over stepping on a cat-tail leaf fan. When she saw the fan, the first thing she thought of was the living Buddha Jigen. The shoes are broken. The hat is broken. Singing this song is really a conditioned reflex. As expected, the few people who arrived in the evening could no longer find a place to live. They had no choice but to buy a few tents and live in the wild. Yang Zhao hid in the room, editing the videos shot along the way today, and then uploaded them to the internet. He flipped through yesterday's comment section. I'm dead. What kind of divine lucks are these two? Sister, look at me. Will you support me? Why are the people upstairs so shameless? That's my wife, the beautiful woman with a snake tail. Draw your sword. I want to protect my love. Am I the only one who thinks that the one with horns on his head is the real god? I'm scared of snake tails. Within 3 days, I want all the information of these two young ladies. Are these two young ladies new to which entertainment company? Hurry up and make your debut. Are the snake tails and the horns on the young ladies' heads makeup or special effects? It should be both. Look at how flexible the snake tail is. Makeup alone can't do this. As expected, appearance is victory. This video gave Yang Zhao more than 5,000 fans at once, and the number of fans has exceeded 40,000. The small goal of 100,000 will be achieved soon. Yang Zhao hurriedly practiced, and then cleaned up, and went to bed. In the middle of the night, she was woken up by the rumbling sound of water. She opened the window by the sea, and saw a wall of water slowly rising on the water. The water wall was boundless, and it looked like it would surround the entire island. Yang Zhao quickly took out her phone to film it. It rose higher, and finally it seemed to reach the sky. The water wall was like a continuous black shadow, covering the entire island. The most amazing thing was that she could see all kinds of marine creatures in the water wall, and they were still chasing and preying in it, without any panic. What kind of great power was needed to give birth to such a huge water wall? Is this the strength shown by the cultivators? Such a shocking sight was frightening. Yang Zhao did not sleep well in the second half of the night, and did not wake up until noon. She turned on her phone, and continued to film the huge water wall. The inverted water wall looked crystal clear during the day, and the surface was sparkling when the sun shone. Various marine animals came and went in it, like a huge landscape fish tank. It no longer had the horror of the night, and became harmless to humans and animals. Yang Zhao was bored in the room editing the video, and sent it to the internet with one click. She flipped through the comments on yesterday's video, and most of them were dissatisfied. We want beauties. We want exotic beauties. We don't want to see the sea view. This seagull is so handsome. Look at its eyes. It's like it's alive. Is the special effects technology so good now? I want to use this eagle as my avatar. Is anyone good looking among these beasts? We want to see beauties. This is not a street shot video. This is a special effects video. If you want to see beauties, please move away. Why haven't those two beauties been exposed yesterday? The comment area was as lively as ever. Yang Zhao walked out of the room, and the people eating in the hall downstairs were talking about the huge water wall. Every time I see this closed giant formation, I yearn for it. Who doesn't? If one day I can also preside over the construction of such a giant formation, then I will have no regrets in my life. What are you thinking about? Have you graduated from the prefectural school? Not yet, and you don't allow me to think? Yang Zhao took advantage of the fact that he still had a room to live in, and quickly practiced, and asked the store owner to fetch water for a bath. After she packed everything, she went out to stroll around the market, and then she realized that at least half of the people here had left. The meteor shower would come in 2 days, and they probably went to the island to take up a good seat. Yang Zhao strolled around the market and bought 2 bamboo tubes for holding water. The bamboo tube seller also sold him 2 small water purifiers. The water purifiers were only the size of a thumb and were made of wood. There were small magic circles engraved on them, and they looked very delicate. Sir, don't look at it as small. It's a serious magic tool. When you want to fill the pool with water, put this magic tool in the pool, and the insects and dust in the water will be suppressed, and the water you fill up will be guaranteed to be clean. As he said, he took out a basin of dirty water from under the stall, and threw the small water purifier into it. Sure enough, the dust and sand in the water were pressed to the bottom of the basin, and the water on top was clear and pleasant, without any odor. This small magic tool was so expensive that Yang Zhao only wanted to buy one. It's better to buy two than one. 3 taels of silver for 1, and 5 taels for 2. Consider these 2 bamboo tubes as a gift to you. If you accidentally lose one, you still have a replacement. Yang Zhao, who could never win over the salesperson, took out 5 taels of silver and bought 2. Back at the hotel, she took out a bean from her arms, injected spiritual power into it, and threw it on the ground. The bean transformed, and a 1-meter tall man grew out. "Miss Ruojian, it's me." "Thank you, sir. I thought you were going to forget me." The man was very happy, and bowed to Yang Zhao to thank him. Yang Zhao pursed his lips in embarrassment. If she hadn't touched the bean when she took out the silver, she would have forgotten it. "Miss Ruojian, what are your plans now?" "No plans at all. I saw a closed formation on the seashore, so I naturally want to take a closer look, and it would be best if I could touch it with my own hands." Yang Zhao. "Miss Ruojian, the formation is in the sea. How can you get there?" "What's the big deal? It's just a traction bean. It's useless, but it's worth it to be able to touch it with my own hands. Sir, when the meteor shower comes, you can use another bean to call me out." After saying goodbye to Yang Zhao, she ran towards the sea. In the past, when they were together, I had never seen her so cheerful. Yang Zhao watched her go into the sea, packed up his things, and set off for the next market. It was obvious that few people came to this island, and there was no path on it. She could only follow the people in front of her not far away. Although she bought a map, there was a gap between the map and the real thing. There were many weeds on the ground, and Yang Zhao found a big branch and patted the grass along the way back and forth, for fear that a snake would suddenly appear. Snakes are not uncommon in rural areas, not to mention that on such a barren island, snakes are the easiest to survive. Snakes are really terrible creatures, and the fear of them is ingrained in human DNA. Following the crowd, she finally walked to the next market. This market looked much smaller than the first one. Yang Zhao hurried to the hotel, but was still a step too late, and there were no rooms. "Sir, we really don't have any rooms here. If you don't mind, you can rent a quilt from us, and sleep in the lobby at night. Although it's not as good as the guest room, it's cheap." Yang Zhao looked at the wilderness outside, and nodded in agreement. It's much better to have a house to live in than in the wilderness. At least there should be no snakes crawling in, and there won't be any wild animals. The second brother put the tables in the hall together as a bed for her, and spread a quilt on it. The quilt was very thick, and smelled like it had been exposed to the sun. Yang Zhao got into the quilt, and lay in it, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. As more and more people came into the hall, there were not enough tables, so people had to sleep on the floor. Chapter 43, Exploration. In the hall, the crowd was noisy until the second half of the night, and then they quieted down. The next morning, everyone got up again, and moved to the middle of the island. There was nothing they could do about it. 80% of the people on the entire island could not fly. Compared with ordinary people, they had better physical strength, and knew some simple little spells. When meteorites fell from the sky, those who could fly and run would naturally occupy more resources, and they could only find a place with a less dense population, and wait for the meteorites to fall and pick them up nearby. It is said that the scale of the meteor shower every year is very large, and the huge water wall outside the island is to prevent meteorites from flying outside the island and hitting passing ships. So you can't stay in crowded places. The entire island covers an area of 2,000 square kilometers. Not everyone has the physical strength to walk a long distance. The further you go, the fewer people there are. Naturally, there are fewer competitors. Yang Zhao silently observed the terrain as he walked. When he came to a relatively flat market, he decided to stay here. This kind of flat terrain is most suitable for people like her who have no cultivation. Although there are not many people in the rugged terrain, it is too dangerous and not suitable for her. This market is a little more dilapidated than the previous one. There are not many people doing business here. The hotel is opened by the government. The lobby downstairs is the exchange point of the meteorite mine. Yang Zhao first booked a room, turned on the video function of his mobile phone, and then took his school bag and water, and went out to survey the terrain. There are meteorite craters on the ground, covered with weeds, and walking deep and shallow. Moreover, Yang Zhao magically discovered that it is still midsummer, but most of the weeds on the island have produced grass seeds, and even the short shrubs on the ground have produced fruits. It seems that the animals and plants on this island have been hit a lot. Yang Zhao took a stick to beat the grass while walking to a higher place. She had to know the terrain in her mind. Everyone seemed to have a tacit understanding and were silently staying away from each other. The audience said that this meteor shower will come at noon tomorrow. Yang Zhao climbed a small hill, rested for a while, and began to carefully observe the surrounding terrain. On the back of this small hill, she found a small spring. The spring water was clear and bright, with some residual leaves and grass seeds floating on it. There were footprints of various small animals around the spring. It seemed that this should be a common drinking water point for small animals nearby. She took out the water purification instrument and threw it into the spring. The residual leaves and grass seeds in the spring were all pressed down. She filled the bamboo tube on her body and carefully fished out the water purification instrument in her hand. Yang Zhao could walk a limited distance in a day, so the range she could search was naturally small, and this spring was her location in this area. When the time came, she would search with this spring as the center of the circle. As for the map she bought that day, although it was written in great detail, the map was shrunk too much, and the scenery within the range of the naked eye could not match the map at all. If she searched based on this map, she would definitely get lost. She wasted this money. If she had known, she would have used it to buy shoes. After all, the prices in this market are much higher than those on the island. The price of shoes alone has increased by more than 20 copper coins. This is also one of the reasons why Yang Zhao did not go in. She was taking a break here and faintly heard the sound of running in the distance. She looked sideways and found that a tall black creature like a leopard was running not far away, and there was a boy sitting on it. The boy was also wearing a black shirt embroidered with gold thread, a dark black crown on his head, and a ruby earring in his ear. He had a cold look and looked like he was not easy to mess with. Yang Zhao thought that the other party was just passing by and did not pay much attention to it, but who would have thought that the leopard came straight at her? She looked at the spring beside her and came to a conclusion in her heart. She picked up her stick and began to move up the hill. But she never thought that when she reached the mountainside, the boy was riding a leopard and running towards the hill. Two legs can't outrun four legs. The big black leopard surpassed her and reached the top of the mountain first. Yang Zhao was a little anxious. It was obvious that he couldn't fight this man. If he also chose this place, Yang Zhao would have to give in. But the boy just watched on the top of the mountain for a while, holding the map in his hand, and felt around, and then rode the black leopard away. It seems that he was not very satisfied with this place. Yang Zhao's heart was relieved. In fact, she was also very curious. How could such a boy with a deep background appear on the edge of the island? After all, there are fewer people in the center of the island, so there are naturally fewer people competing for it. According to rumors, the students of the prefectural school went to the center of the island. Seeing that it was getting late, she began to return the same way. Yang Zhao returned to the store to practice and eat first, and then went into the house to edit videos. As a video blogger, at least one video is updated every day. Only with enough updates can there be enough traffic. Some bloggers who have just entered the industry have to update 5 or 6 videos a day to earn traffic on the network platform. Today's theme is naturally the big leopard and the boy on the leopard. She sincerely hopes that this handsome boy can attract thousands of fans for her. Now is the internet age. Both men and women attract fans. Yesterday's huge water wall video attracted a carnival of technical fans. After all, this large-scale ultra-high definition special effects video is worth every second. Does anyone know this special effects team? They should be very famous in the industry. Is this something I can watch for free? If 30 used this special effects team at the time, it would not be ridiculed by the crowd when the movie was released. The person above, don't bring bad luck to the blogger. If someone reports it, we won't be able to watch this video. She was scrolling through the comments when her younger brother Yang Yun sent her a new voice message. My dear sister, is the water wall video you sent real? Yes. Yang Yun asked, do you know the defensive strength of that water wall? I only know that this is a closed giant formation used to defend against meteorites. The strength should be not low. After Yang Zhao answered, her younger brother didn't reply to her message for a long time. When she was almost sleepy, a new message came. Sister, are there many of these formations? Is it easy to set up? Yang Zhao sighed. There should be a lot of formations, but it must not be easy to set up. This is a new subject that I haven't touched yet. Sister, be careful over there. Your safety is the most important. Yang Zhao felt warm in her heart. It felt good to be cared for by someone all the time. Don't worry, I will definitely stay safe. After the two ended the call, she went to bed early. Tomorrow is the day, and she must rest well. Chapter 44, Meteor Shower. On the day of the event, Yang Zhao could clearly feel that the guests staying in the hotel had become very agitated. But no one dared to walk out of the market. Those of them who had little cultivation had to rely on the defensive formations in the market to resist the damage caused by the falling meteorites. The meteor shower continued, and they did not dare to go out. Yang Zhao first went to the market to buy 2 pairs of shoes and a backpack, and then returned to the store to buy some more dry food. Then she took the things and went into the house. Now the sun was shining. She put out the power bank to bask in the sun. These days, the power bank has not had much time to bask in the sun. After the meteor shower, she will be busy again and prepare some things in advance. However, this new power bank is obviously much better than the one she bought before. Even the battery life of this new mobile phone is much better than that of mobile phones on the market. After the power bank had enough sunbathing, Yang Zhao packed up her things and put them in her school bag, put on the backpack, and went to the first floor to eat. It was not yet noon, but everyone in the hotel was having lunch. Yang Zhao ordered some food and shared a table with others, listening to gossip while eating. For a lone ranger like her, listening to gossip is the most effective way to collect information. Of course, the secret news could not be heard by others, and all she could hear was some public news. When Yang Zhao was listening with great interest, she heard someone outside shouting, "It's coming, the meteor shower is coming." She was startled and quickly stuffed all the food in the bowl into her mouth, drank half a bowl of water to smooth it out, and ran out of the room with everyone. Almost everyone in the market was looking up at the sky, and Yang Zhao was no exception. She adjusted the angle of her school bag to ensure that her mobile phone could capture the scene in the sky. Then, as if she remembered something, she took out a machine bean, input spiritual power, and threw it on the ground. "Thank you, sir, for remembering me." Miss Ruojuan looked at the crowd around her with joy and did not bother to greet Yang Zhao, but looked up at the sky. 3 red flares rose in the center of the island, and then a huge black formation slowly rose from the ground into the air. From everyone's perspective, this formation has no edge. I heard that this gravitational formation covers the entire falling star island. That's right, this meteor shower was attracted by this formation. If you can see such a scene once or twice in your life, you will talk about it when you are old. Yang Zhao was stunned by what she heard. In her limited life, she had only heard of artificial rainfall, but she had never heard of artificial rainfall, meteors, and rain. This formation can attract meteor showers, so can it attract satellites in outer space? Exclamation mark. This should be possible. She bit her lips hard, staring at the formation above her head. It seems that she still needs to learn. If she can't understand this technology in detail, she won't be able to sleep well. The gravitational formation stopped when it rose to a certain height, and the character patterns on the formation began to rotate slowly. As they rotated faster and faster, the entire formation emitted a faint yellow light. Then the second and third formations on the formation were also activated, and the 3 formations were fixed in the air like a sandwich. Soon, shining stars could be seen falling from the sky. Meteors are falling. Meteors are falling. Everyone present was in an uproar. Although Yang Zhao also saw the meteors, her attention was still focused on the gravitational array. To her, the characters moving at high speed were only phantoms emitting yellow light. Suddenly, she found dozens of people flying up from the surroundings of the array. The meteor shower hasn't come down yet. Why are they flying up there? Seeing the strange scene, Yang Zhao couldn't help but ask. Of course, it's to deal with those particularly large meteorites. Some meteorites exceed the bearing capacity of the ground market defensory, so they can only be smashed in the sky. Those flying in the sky are all masters. An old man next to him didn't pay attention to who asked the question and answered it casually. She had never heard of any country intercepting a meteorite that was falling sharply in the atmosphere. Some ideas for intercepting asteroids are all experiments in outer space. The dozens of people rose quickly and gradually turned into small black dots. More and more meteor showers streaked across the sky, although most of them turned into fireworks, blooming from the sky. But finally one of them broke through the siege of the skyfire and crashed onto the island. Boom. The huge sound was accompanied by the trembling of the ground, and Yang Zhao couldn't control his heart beating wildly. The meteorite that hit the ground must be very large. This seemed to be the beginning, and then large and small collisions came one after another. Boom. 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 Yang Zhao was holding her school bag with both hands, and she could only open her mouth as hard as possible to reduce the pressure of the sound waves on her ears. She even saw a few smaller meteors hit the defense formation above her head and were bounced out. Although those meteors were relatively small, the sound waves they brought were not small at all. The huge shock wave flattened the weeds outside the market. A little further away, Yang Zhao even saw a few burning flames. It should be the extremely high temperature brought by the meteors that ignited the weeds. Yang Zhao originally wanted to remember which direction had more meteors falling. Later, she realized that all these efforts were in vain. There were so many meteors falling from the sky that she couldn't count them at all. This meteor shower lasted for an hour. When the giant formation in the sky disappeared, the meteor shower slowly stopped. Yang Zhao turned around and found that Miss Ruojuan was gone. She looked around and finally found Miss Ruojuan attached to the formation at the edge of the defense formation. Miss Ruojuan, why did you run here? Miss Ruojuan blushed when she asked. Actually, I want to go out and take a look. Anyway, I'm just a bean, and I'm not afraid of meteorites hitting me. I really want to face the power of a meteorite falling to the ground. Yang Zhao. This is a child who likes big scenes. Teacher, I've also finished watching the meteor shower. It's time to go back to class. Goodbye, teacher. After saying that, she turned back into a bean, but unfortunately this bean shriveled and yellowed in an instant, and it was obviously unusable. Smoke and dust rose all over the island, and a sea breeze blew over, spreading the smoke and dust. After waiting for a while, the defense formations over the entire market were withdrawn. The floating smoke and dust instantly filled the market, and the people present were choked and coughed. But the people who were anxiously waiting in the market didn't care whether they coughed or not, and ran out like a swarm of bees. Now whoever runs faster will gain more. Yang Zhao was not to be outdone, and began to run out along her route yesterday. The grass along the way had been ruined by meteorites. She was lucky to encounter a few small meteorites on the road, picked them up, and threw them into her backpack. These meteorites were still slightly hot, and the surface was melted by the skyfire. They felt hard and heavy, and the feel was surprisingly good. Unfortunately, she had no knowledge in this area, and could not recognize what kind of meteorites these were. She ran in the same direction, and ran straight to the small spring. After arriving, Yang Zhao used the small spring as a radius, and searched 1 inch of land. 1 inch of land. Meteorites that fall to the ground are generally not very big, and their colors vary, including black, gray, or brown, and some are blue, yellow, and red. Meteorites have smooth edges, while others have sharp edges. It is easy to distinguish them. Just look at the surface of the stone to see if there are signs of melting, and touch the stones to see if they are hot. But Yang Zhao does not guarantee that all she finds are meteorites. Chapter 45. Hijacking. The meteor shower stopped, but the sporadic meteors did not stop. There were always individual meteors that broke through the blockade of the skyfire and hit the ground. Yang Zhao searched for meteorites in fear, while paying attention to the movement above his head, for fear that he would be hit by a meteorite accidentally. As for those people with strong magic power, they usually fly in the sky, moving quickly like a comb, combing the earth. But they only want those large meteorites, and ignore the small ones. This gave Yang Zhao and his people an opportunity. At this time, Yang Zhao met the boy riding a leopard yesterday. Today he changed into a moon white dress and rode a leopard towards the hill. Yang Zhao weighed the meteorites in his backpack and decided to retreat first. Everyone's nerves were tense today. What if he felt that his behavior of picking up meteorites here was a provocation? After all, some people would step on harmless insects on the roadside. She is not much better than a bug now. Fellow Daoist in front, please stay. Yang Zhao was retreating when she heard the call from the leopard riding boy behind her. She wanted to pretend she didn't hear it, but after careful consideration, she stopped. When the leopard ran to her, she asked in confusion, "Is this fellow Daoist calling me?" The boy got off the leopard and replied, "That's right fellow Daoist, I want to buy some colorful meteorites from you. I wonder if you can take out the meteorites in your backpack and let me pick them out. I will buy them from you at a price 10% higher than the market price." I understand. This boy must be looking for something. If he can't find it, he can only search through the bags one by one. Yang Zhao didn't waste any words. He put down the backpack, tilted his pocket, and piled all the meteorites on the ground. Dao, the meteorites are all here. You can take whichever one you like. The money and other things are easy to negotiate. The young man didn't expect her to agree so readily. He was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Then I'll trouble you, Dao. I won't be polite." After that, he squatted on the ground and began to check the small pile of meteorites. Yang Zhao took advantage of the moment when he lowered his head to go outside from the backpack and turn off the phone. The phone has been attached to the back of the cloth with a hole in the backpack to facilitate her to take pictures, and it is also convenient to turn it off. There are only a dozen meteorites in this small pile, and it will take a moment to look at them all, but he obviously didn't find the one he liked. He raised his head and looked at the cloth bag on Yang Zhao's body. Yang Zhao didn't hesitate to pour out the contents of the bag. There was a bag of dry food, 2 pairs of shoes, a change of clothes, a map of the whole island, a mobile phone and a power bank. The young man glanced at it and wanted to reach out for the phone. Seeing him do this, Yang Zhao quickly unscrewed the lids of the 2 bamboo tubes on his back and poured out all the water in one breath. The boy's attention was indeed diverted for a moment. Yang Zhao asked politely, "Dao, do you have a meteorite you like?" The boy still picked up the phone and looked at it carefully. "Why do you look a little nervous?" Yang Zhao laughed dryly. "Maybe you can't see it, but I'm really a woman. These are all I can check for you." After saying that, he deliberately tightened his clothes. The boy carefully felt the thing in his hand, and there was no spiritual reaction, so he put it back. "Dao, don't worry, I really want to buy a few meteorites, and I don't have any other ideas." There was a bit of disgust in his tone. Yes, although Yang Zhao's face looked good, she was wearing a man's coarse cloth. Although she had a bun on her head, the short hair around it had been soaked by sweat and became wispy. Both hands were black and grey. Even if she had 8 points of beauty, she only had 3 points left. The boy moved his eyes to the meteorites again and picked up 3 colorful ones at random. "Sell these 3 to me." He took out 3 gold leaves from his sleeve and handed them over. Yang Zhao reached out to take them and asked a little embarrassedly, "This is my first time to search for meteorites. Can you tell me what the 3 meteorites you just took are?" The boy, 3 glass meteorites. The market price is 8 or 9 taels of silver per piece. He turned around and rode on the leopard and ran away. Yang Zhao put the gold leaves in her arms, squatted down and started to pack up. Pick up the meteorites first, then pack clothes and other things. Looking up and seeing that the boy had run away, the hanging heart finally let go. Since he left, Yang Zhao was not in a hurry to go back. She continued to return to the small spring, filled the bamboo tube with water, found a big stone next to it, and sat on it, chewing dry food and drinking water. After eating and drinking, she continued to search for meteorites. She practiced for more than 2 months and her strength was much greater. In the past, she would never be able to walk such a long distance carrying a bag of stones. After finding 3 or 4 more meteorites, the backpack was obviously unable to bear the weight, so Yang Zhao had no choice but to return home. Not many people went back along the way, and it was estimated that many people chose to spend the night in the wild. Yang Zhao returned to the hotel and first went to deposit the meteorites at the official exchange point. The official warehouse manager checked the meteorites and said, there are a total of 16 meteorites. These 5 are ordinary stones. You can take them back. If you have any doubts, you can find someone to identify them. Yang Zhao picked up the stones and thought, not bad. I picked up a total of 21, and only 5 of them are fake. The deposit fee for these 16 meteorites is a total of 3 taels of silver. You can deposit them until the last day. You can take them out as you like. We will not interfere. Yang Zhao sucked his teeth, gritted his teeth, and paid the money. The warehouse manager put his meteorites in a cabinet behind him and gave Yang Zhao the key to the cabinet. You transfer some spiritual power into the key, and only you can use this key. You can leave a name and address. If no one picks it up on the last day, we will send the meteorites to him. This is expensive, but has its advantages. This storage service greatly reduces the risk of people snatching keys from each other, and the number of deaths should be much less. Yang Zhao left Shenruo's name and address. Practice, take a shower, and eat. While eating, she also heard many people complaining that someone wanted to force them to buy the meteorites in their hands. Although the price was not low, they felt uncomfortable after all. Even most people were unlucky. The meteorites were picked up by others, but none of them were bought and left. Sure enough, happiness is to be compared. Yang Zhao, who was tired all day, went into the house and began to edit videos quickly and sent them to the internet. He took a quick look at yesterday's comments, which were all words like the stranger is like jade and the young man is unparalleled in the world. Unfortunately, the fear brought to her by this young man today was too great. Yang Zhao was too lazy to read those flattering words and silently turned off her phone and went to sleep. Chapter 46. Fellow Daoist, please stay. The next morning, she turned on her phone and informed her brother that she had something to do in the next 2 days and might not be able to contact him. Unexpectedly, just a moment later, her brother sent her a message. Yang Yun, sister, can meteor showers be artificially created this time? Yang Zhao, I'm also surprised, but there's no doubt that it's real. Yang Yun, you're busy these 2 days, so you have to be careful. Let me know when you're not busy. Yang Zhao, okay. She hurried to edit yesterday's video and send it. She went downstairs without even looking at the comments. Today, she could clearly feel that there were fewer people in the market. It was probably because Yang Zhao got up late. The early bird catches the worm, and the early riser gets the meteorite. Yang Zhao could only speed up his meal and set out on the road to find meteorites. Today's meteorites were obviously not as easy to find as yesterday's. After working hard for a whole morning, he only found 3 pieces. Judging from the traces on the grass, more than one person should have been here. Yang Zhao sat by the spring and ate dry food. She thought silently for a while and decided that if the harvest in the afternoon was not much, she would also sleep outdoors. In the afternoon, even if Yang Zhao increased the search radius, the harvest was still not ideal, so she had no choice but to move forward. Yang Zhao found a small puddle in the evening. She filled the bamboo tube and found a higher place nearby and chose to camp there. First, find some hay and some dead branches around and pick up 2 stones. Use stones to crush the hay little by little into fine fluff. Then put a stone on the ground and use another stone in your hand to hit it hard. Soon, the stone below was smashed into 3 large pieces. Yang Zhao turned out all the meteorites in the basket behind him, found a blue-black one, licked it with his tongue, and it tasted Pick up the stone that had just been smashed with your left hand. Hold the meteorite with your right hand. Put the 2 together next to the hay fluff and keep hitting each other. Soon, the hay fluff was lit. This is called striking stones to make fire. Some old people in the village are reluctant to buy matches and lighters, so they all use this set of things. As night fell, there was an eerie silence. Since the meteor shower the day before, the nights on the island had become much quieter. If not, she would not have dared to camp in the wild. She used fire to make a place to sleep, made sure there were no snakes hiding nearby, and finally put out the fire. It was midsummer now, and it was enough to cover herself with a piece of clothing when sleeping in the wild at night, which happened to be in her school bag. The wind was strong at night on the island, and she was afraid that if she didn't put out the fire, there would be a fire. She rolled up her pants into a pillow and put it under her head, covered herself with a shirt, and Yang Zhao began her first wild camping in her life. Since she came here, she has experienced many firsts, and she will experience more in the future. No matter how much she thought in her heart, she couldn't resist the fatigue of her body. She fell asleep soon after she thought she would have insomnia. Yang Zhao woke up again because of the cold. When she opened her eyes, she saw that the sky was about to get bright. It was early morning, the coldest time of the day. She quickly stood up and moved around and lit the fire again. She sat next to the fire, drinking water and eating dry food in the heat of the fire. After dinner, the sky was already white. Yang Zhao put out the fire and came to the puddle she found yesterday. She threw the small water purification device into it, filled the bamboo tube first, and then washed her hands and face. She adjusted the angle of the phone, packed up her things, and continued to look for meteorites. After walking for a while, Yang Zhao could clearly feel that the number of meteorites in this place began to increase. By noon, she had picked up more than a dozen pieces. Just when she was happy, she didn't expect to meet another uninvited guest. This time it was a beautiful woman riding a big fish. She wore a light purple narrow-sleeved dress. There was no other jewelry except a gem crown on her head. She wore a pair of bright moon beads on her ears, reflecting her whole person. Bright and gentle. Dao, please stay. Is this sentence popular in the world of cultivation? Every time you hear this sentence, nothing good happens. She sighed in her heart that she was unlucky, turned her head, and waited with a smile. What can I do? The arm can't twist the thigh, so I can only follow my heart. Fellow Daoist, are you calling me? Yang Zhao hoped she would answer no. Yes, fellow Daoist. I want to buy some colored meteorites. Can I see your collection? No. Yang Zhao thought viciously in his heart, but he was very obedient and poured all the meteorites on the ground. Then he repeated the step he took when he met the boy and turned off his phone. But this girl was much more polite than that boy. She just flipped the meteorites, then stood up, made a gesture with both hands, and recited a spell. Seeing that there was no special reaction around Yang Zhao, she rode the fish away with confidence. Yang Zhao actually wanted to ask her if she wanted to buy one or two pieces, but he didn't dare to ask. Unexpectedly, Yang Zhao was too early to be lucky. In the next half day, she met 5 people who came to buy colored meteorites from her. Some of them paid money to buy 2 pieces, and some did not buy anything and left. Yang Zhao was so annoyed that she had no choice but to set foot on the road back to the market. She was afraid that, if a few more people came, someone might find the abnormality of her phone. She couldn't afford this risk, so she could only avoid it. On the way back, passing by the small spring at the bottom of the hill, Yang Zhao ran into the boy riding the Black Panther again. Dao, please stay. Can't this sentence be changed? Exclamation mark. This time she knew the rules very well. Before the boy came to her, she had already turned out all her things and put them on the ground. This made the boy a little embarrassed. After all, he was in the wrong. In the end, he picked out a few colorful meteorites and gave her 3 gold leaves. I'm really sorry, there won't be a next time. After saying that, he rode on the Black Panther and ran away quickly. No matter how Yang Zhao looked at his back, she felt a little embarrassed. The road ahead was smooth. Yang Zhao finally rushed back to the market before it was completely dark. The first thing she did when she came back was to store all the meteorites in her backpack. Yang Zhao generously ordered an extra dish and had a delicious meal. The food in the hotel was still better. The dry food was really bad. After eating and drinking, she practiced hard and took a good bath. She felt that the fatigue of the past 2 days had disappeared. This time, Yang Zhao, who was lying in bed, was in the mood to edit and send the video, and then look at the comments under the previous 2 videos. Comments on artificial meteor showers. I'm telling you the truth, this account has given me more and more surprises. With so many meteor showers coming down, it really feels like the world is going to end. I can now experience the feelings of the dinosaurs back then. I'll give you 50 cents if you remove the comment and let me post it. Yes, I can experience it too. I really look forward to this special effects production team cooperating with big budget movies. I want to see how shocking the special effects of the 3D big screen can be. Mobile phones always lack some flavor. Watch it and cherish it. I'm the only one who doubts. Is this video real? You are not the only one above. Great news. After 29 days of hard work, my collection has finally exceeded 100. Congratulations here. I also want to thank the Shining Boy and Zixizzy for their awards. Thank you boss, and the recommendation tickets from many big guys in the past 2 days. I collected 100 articles and received more than 300 recommendation tickets in one day. Oh my god. I felt like an unknown trainee who was suddenly favored by a big shot, and they voted for me. Thank you so much. As for the other 2 people who gave me tips, one is me, and the other is my sister. Yes, I gave myself a tip. Hi SEN. Chapter 47, Advance. She didn't sleep well that night. She always felt that something was going to happen, so she was awakened by a nightmare in the middle of the night. But when she woke up in the morning, she forgot everything in the dream. Listening to people chatting while eating in the morning, she knew that there would be another wave of meteor showers at noon tomorrow, and this would be the last one. On the 3rd day after this time, the closure array would fall, and everyone could leave the island freely. Ambitious star chasers had already used these 2 days to move to places with fewer people. Those who stayed in the local area were basically people who paid more attention to safety. According to the original plan, Yang Zhao was going to move today, but the ominous feeling lingered in her heart and could not be shaken off. In the end, she decided to walk around the market and wait for tomorrow's meteor shower. After she finished her meal, she found that there were already several merchants who collected meteorite ores in the lobby on the 1st floor. The prices of various meteorite ores were marked on large signs. Many people also set up their own stalls to exchange and sell the meteorite ores in their hands. Yang Zhao went from stall to stall and asked what kind of meteorites they had, hoping to find out if there were any meteorites with silver crystal ore. After all, she didn't even know what this meteorite ore looked like. You want to find a meteorite with silver crystal ore? That's not easy to find. Look at our stall. There are 5 of us brothers, but we only found this small piece of silver crystal ore. The man who spoke was a generous man. He took out a small piece of brown meteorite from the corner of his stall and handed it to her. Look, it's just a small piece. If you want it, you can bring your meteorite here to exchange it. Yang Zhao reached out and took the small piece of meteorite. It was half the size of a palm, and the traces of high temperature calcination were obvious. She seemed to have 2 small pieces of meteorites like this in her hand. Big brother, why is this meteorite this color? The big man laughed heartily. Silver crystal ore is silver, but the meteorite of silver crystal ore is brown. Everyone in the market knows this. Can I deceive you? Yang Zhao smiled a little embarrassedly. Big brother, I don't mean to doubt you. How much silver crystal can this meteorite produce? He handed the meteorite over. The big man took the meteorite, weighed it in his hand, and said, it can only produce 2 taels. Yang Zhao secretly complained in his heart, so little? Big brother, how do you exchange this piece? What we mainly need to exchange now is red flame copper and sun god un. 10 parts of red flame copper can be exchanged for 1 part of silver crystal ore, and 12 parts of sun god un can be exchanged for 1 part of silver crystal ore. I will pay half a cent higher than the market price to buy these 2 meteorites. After the big man finished speaking, he also showed the 2 meteorite ores to Yang Zhao for her to see. Yang Zhao carefully observed the 2 meteorites, returned to the official exchange point, dug out a few pieces of red flame copper, and exchanged the small piece of silver crystal ore. Finally, she found the second piece at a private exchange stall. This time, she didn't have enough meteorites, so she had to add another 5 taels of silver. Unfortunately, she only found these 2 pieces in the whole market. According to the conversion ratio that the big man just mentioned, she can only produce 7 taels of silver crystal, which is 3 taels short. The silver crystal meteorite is the most expensive in the whole market, but according to everyone, those meteorites with higher value will not appear in the market. They have been bought away at a high price. Those who come here to make money often sell the silver crystal meteorite to the merchants, who collect meteorites on the same day. Only those private people who want to exchange meteorites may have 1 or 2 pieces left. But she didn't have many meteorites to exchange. Yang Zhao looked at the sun in the sky and decided to look carefully near the market to see if there were any smaller meteorites left. This time she searched more carefully and unknowingly came to the spring under the hill. This road was the most familiar to her. She first replenished her water and sat beside it to eat dry food. But while eating, Yang Zhao felt that the hairs on her body stood up. She stood up in a panic and looked around, but she didn't see anything special happening. However, the goosebumps on her arms told her that danger was approaching. What is the most dangerous thing on the island? People. No, there are more dangerous things than this. Yang Zhao looked up suddenly and saw that a large formation had risen in the sky and traces of meteors had begun to flicker in the sky. Artificial meteor shower. The meteor shower was clearly said to come tomorrow morning. Why is it here now? Exclamation mark. This is simply life-threatening. Yang Zhao didn't dare to delay and ran to the market. Now she couldn't even withstand a meteor the size of a finger. But she didn't know whether it was because she ran too slowly or because the meteor flew too fast. After running 2 steps, the first meteor hit the ground and then dense meteors fell from the sky like raindrops. Yang Zhao was going crazy because not far from her, 2 meteors had already hit the ground. Boom. The huge sound wave made her ears roar. It was the first time in her life that she encountered a meteorite falling so close. But she didn't dare to run blindly and turned around and ran to the nearest meteorite that had just fallen. Yang Zhao had heard that it was rare for 2 meteorites to fall into a meteorite crater in a short period of time. Now it was not safe anywhere, so she could only fight. Unfortunately, it was not as she wished. Before she ran there, another meteorite hit the meteorite crater. Fuck. Yang Zhao braked urgently and ran towards the market again. Just as she struggled to survive, Yang Zhao felt that her waist was strangled by something, and in an instant, the powerful reaction force made her fall down. She got up in a daze, ignored the pain, and continued to run, but she was tripped to the ground by an unknown force after only 2 steps. Someone was deliberately looking for trouble with her. Which psychopath was looking for trouble with her at this critical moment? She could only get up and look around, and she found a huge black panther running behind her on the left. But what was different from usual was that the boy on his back must have had some accident and was lying crookedly on his back. In order to take care of the boy and prevent him from falling, it ran very awkwardly. The national curse in Yang Zhao's mind could no longer be solved by silencing, but there was no way. She couldn't beat this panther, and she didn't have time to delay it, so she could only get up and continue running. But this time she simply couldn't run anymore, and now a panther was more powerful than her. Brother Panther, if you have anything to say, just say it. How can you stop me now? I will die. The panther also knew that the situation was urgent and trotted over and roared at her twice. Yang Zhao didn't understand at all. She and the panther didn't speak the same language. Chapter 48, Escape. Yang Zhao, facing the knife that was falling from the sky, guessed the most reasonable reason. Brother Leopard, do you want me to get on your back? Hold your little master and fix him so that you can speed up and leave here. The leopard nodded irritably, and then she felt the restraints on her feet loosened. Yang Zhao did not dare to delay and ran up quickly, flipped over to the leopard, picked up the boy, fixed him in his arms, and urged, Brother Leopard, let's go. The leopard did not dare to delay and ran out like the wind. Yang Zhao held the boy with both hands, endured the bumps, raised his head, and began to observe the sky carefully to judge which meteor could hit this side. The big leopard was running hard, so she had to act as an alarm to make up for the big leopard's lack of vision. Brother Leopard, it seems that there is a meteorite coming from the left front. The big leopard suddenly accelerated and ran to the right. Boom. Yang Zhao's ears were ringing from the shock, and she almost threw the boy out of her arms. She quickly hugged the boy tightly. If she dared to throw him out, Brother Leopard would definitely eat her. Behind, Brother Leopard, there's someone catching up. The big leopard stopped suddenly, turned around and ran back. Brother Leopard. Boom. 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 Gradually, the meteor shower became more and more dense, and Yang Zhao couldn't report it. The big leopard was also exhausted, and became more and more tired. It seemed to have made up its mind, and with a low roar, a small piece of tortoise-shell jade pendant floated on the boy's neck. Yang Zhao looked at the boy, who was still awake, and realized that this was Brother Leopard asking her to use it. "Brother Leopard, can I just transfer magic power into it?" roared Yang Zhao. Well, she still didn't understand, but she was sure that Brother Leopard agreed with her. She pulled the tortoise-shell jade pendant off the boy's neck and put it between her hands to transfer magic power. A tortoise-shell shaped energy shield quickly grew larger from the jade pendant, covering the three of Yang Zhao in a breath. With this tortoise shell as a backup, Brother Leopard would just rush over when he encountered a smaller meteorite. It saved a lot of time, but Yang Zhao didn't dare to take it lightly at all. She stared at the sky with her eyes, always paying attention to the dynamics of the meteorites in the sky. Just then, she found a very large fireball smashing towards this side. "Brother Leopard, a big meteorite is coming." She almost lost her voice. Brother Leopard looked up and became anxious. He roared in anger, and a red light suddenly appeared on his body. In an instant, Brother Leopard's speed increased a lot, and he ran forward desperately. But no matter how fast it was not as fast as a meteor. The big meteorite grew rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. When such a large meteorite fell, the explosion caused by the energy wave would turn anything in the affected area into dust. Now other meteorites are nothing compared to it. Yang Zhao had no other options, so she could only let the boy and herself lie on the leopard to reduce air resistance. They had to run as fast as possible. Suddenly, a red light flashed before her eyes, and she was thrown off the leopard's back by a huge force, and fell to the ground. Then, a deafening sound came, and her eyes were full of stars. She turned her head with great effort to take a look, and found that the huge meteorite had exploded in the sky, and small fragments collapsed and fell, hitting people and bleeding. Yang Zhao got up, and ran to a distance, to pick up the tortoise-shell jade pendant, input spiritual power to prop up the defense shield, and then found the boy, tried to breathe, and saw that he was still alive. So she carried him on her back, and continued to run forward. After running a few steps, the big leopard found the two of them. The originally majestic black panther was now in a mess, with blood mixed with dust hanging all over its body. One of its front legs looked injured, and it ran a little lame. But now the meteor shower has not stopped. No one cares about the injury. The big leopard ran over and crouched. Yang Zhao carried the boy up. "Brother Leopard, thank you for your help." It stood up and ran. The road was not long, but because of the need to avoid meteorites, the passive speed increased 4 or 5 times. Although the next journey was not much smoother, at least there was no such huge meteorite to claim people's lives. After running for a long time, Yang Zhao finally saw the defensive formation above the market, and her eyes lit up at this moment. "Brother Leopard, did you see it? The market is in front of you on the left." Hearing this, the big leopard hurriedly adjusted the direction, and ran towards the market. Yang Zhao looked at the defensive formation of the market, and suddenly remembered something. He took out the traction beam from his arms, and threw it out. "Thank you, sir." The little man smiled brightly. Boom. Puff. The 1 meter tall little man was gone. Yang Zhao, will my tutoring job end? The big leopard looked back in confusion, but saw nothing. He didn't ask, and continued to run towards the market. This distance was almost a blink of an eye for him. The crowd in the market also got agitated when they saw them. "Ah, look, 2 people are back from outside." "Really? Quick, go inform the senior who controls the formation, and make a way for them. Someone has gone." Yang Zhao found from a distance that there was a hole in the side of the market's defense formation. "Brother Leopard, someone is here to help us. Go in through the hole on the side." The big leopard ran hard and plunged into the market. He almost hit the house because he didn't hold back his strength. He braked suddenly and threw Yang Zhao and the boy on his back out. Unfortunately, Yang Zhao fell below and became a scapegoat. The boy fell on her, and Yang Zhao was knocked out of breath by him. He almost died. "Hey, Brother Leopard, you want to kill me?" She pushed the boy down, lay on the ground, and tried to breathe deeply. Fortunately, except for a little bloody smell in her breath, Breathing was not difficult, and she didn't feel like coughing. There was no bone rubbing. She reached out and touched it. The chest was normal, and the ribs were probably not broken. Yang Zhao was actually a little proud in his heart. It seemed that his body was very strong. The big leopard limped over and licked the boy's face. The crowd around also gathered around and talked. Hey, what happened to this little brother? I don't see much blood on him. Why is he unconscious? Maybe he has some internal injuries. What kind of leopard is this? It's really brave. With this blood and mud, who can tell what kind of leopard it is? Yes, even its legs are lame, but it still knows to carry its owner back. Since the accident, not many people can return to our market. They are lucky enough. At this time, the innkeeper ran over, looked at the boy, then looked at Yang Zhao and asked, "Sir, I'll let the waiter carry you to the guest room." Yang Zhao nodded and said, "Thank you, boss, but can you give us the firewood room on the first floor? This leopard saved my life. I can't abandon it and its owner. The boy's life is still hanging by a thread. It seems that brother leopard will not let him out of his sight." Yang Zhao can only live in the firewood room by herself. Now neither of them can speak. If they have any needs, she doesn't even have someone to communicate with normally. She is worried. Only the space in the woodshed on the first floor was big enough to accommodate the big leopard. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. Applying Medicine. The innkeeper called the waiter to come over and wanted to move them to the woodshed to recuperate. But the big leopard was obviously a little nervous, lying there and roaring softly, not letting strangers touch the boy. Yang Zhao struggled to get up and carefully approach the leopard. "Brother leopard, don't worry, I will live in the same room with you. And with so many people watching, who dares to touch your master?" The leopard was a little unmoved. Yang Zhao couldn't use soft tactics, so he tried hard and said, "Look at him. His breathing is weakening now, and it is obvious that he is dying. Even if you can't find someone to treat him now, don't you apply medicine to stop the bleeding? Anyway, I'm going back to the guest room to apply medicine. If you don't want to leave, stay here." Roar, the leopard ordered Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao didn't understand, but it didn't matter. He just followed his own routine. Since the leopard couldn't refute her, she was right. "Brother leopard, I'm leaving now. I'm hungry and I need to go back for a good meal." Roar roar roar. Yang Zhao, "Brother leopard, are you saying bad words?" Big leopard, roar. Does this leopard still know how to curse? Yang Zhao's temper also came up. She was in pain all over her body and really didn't feel like talking nonsense with a big leopard. "There are two choices, brother leopard. Either you come with me to stay in the hotel, or I go to stay in the hotel alone. Anyway, I can't just wait on the street." The big leopard licked the boy's face and finally nodded in agreement. "Yang Zhao, this is a good brother leopard. Let's go, you come with us." Yang Zhao could still move by herself. She was afraid that others would be in danger when approaching the leopard, so she put her hand on the leopard and moved forward with the help of the force. The people next to him carefully lifted the boy up and followed them to the woodshed on the first floor of the hotel. At this time, the firewood room had been cleaned up and the dry firewood had been carried out. 2 beds were placed inside and a beast's nest was built on the ground with hay and quilts. Yang Zhao asked the shopkeeper if there was a doctor in the market. The shopkeeper smiled through the door and said, "I'm sorry to disappoint you, sir. There are doctors on the entire island, but this market is old and small, and even if there are doctors, they won't come here. But we sell hemostatic medicine in our store. Do you want to buy some?" Yang Zhao spent 5 taels of silver to buy 10 small packets of hemostatic medicine, and another 5 taels of silver to buy 2 magic tools for exorcising evil spirits. Hemostatic medicine is really expensive. This small magic tool is a simplified version of the gate tower for exorcising evil spirits outside the city. She had seen the young man in the old Kain's shop in Kangcheng use it. She asked the young man in the store to get a few basins of warm water, a few clean towels, and throw the water purification magic tools into the basins. The towels were disinfected with the magic tools for exorcising evil spirits. Then she used the towels to dip the clean water in the basins to wash the wounds on her body. After cleaning one part, she applied the medicine to the other part. Fortunately, Brother Leopard protected her well. She had mainly scratches on her body, and a few wounds from meteorites were relatively shallow. As for the large purple patches on her body, she had no good way to deal with them, so she could only take care of them. After cleaning her body, she asked the shop assistant to take the dirty water out. The shop assistants were a little afraid of the big leopard, and they avoided it when they came in and out. The big leopard saw that she had finished applying the medicine and roared at her softly, nodding his head at the unconscious boy. Yang Zhao felt pain every time he moved, and he really didn't feel like applying medicine to others. Brother Leopard, you see, it's not convenient for us men and women to be intimate. Can we let the boy outside apply the medicine to him? The big leopard was obviously unhappy and glanced at her with contempt. The meaning was very clear, and Yang Zhao understood it. Are you still a woman in your current state? Yang Zhao held his breath in his trachea, unable to move up or down. This leopard is just like its owner. No wonder they are a family. Yang Zhao rolled his eyes at the big leopard and said, Brother Leopard, it's useless to say anything. Either you two just bear it, or let the young man come in to help you. Now I'm paying for the hotel and the medicine. You have no right to object. The big leopard growled twice in dissatisfaction. Yang Zhao waved his hands. What are you talking about? He's not awake yet. Can I still take the money out of his arms? Wouldn't that make me a robber? The big leopard, roar. Yang Zhao, you don't have to bribe me. Can you bribe me? Besides, the young man outside is so good. He's quick and careful. He's much better than me. Yang Zhao communicated with it back and forth, but the big leopard was determined and refused to let the young man come in to clean and apply medicine for them. At this time, Yang Zhao also tasted a little bit of the taste. The boy must have something good in his hand. It was good that a lone injured person found it, and she didn't have the strength to grab it. Once she had this idea, Brother Leopard suppressed her. This boy looked like a wealthy man. Once a meteor shower stopped, his family would probably come to find him. Brother Leopard only needed to watch her alone. She was injured now and couldn't go anywhere. But the guys outside were different. They had to go out after they finished cleaning up. There was no reason for them to stay under Brother Leopard's nose. Yang Zhao thought about it and opened his mouth to talk about the conditions. Brother Leopard, you can let me apply the medicine, but you can't bother me afterwards. Your master can't bother me, even if he wakes up. If you agree, just roar, and if you don't agree, just bear it. Roar. The big leopard agreed. Yang Zhao raised his voice to call the guys outside and asked them to bring 2 more basins of clean water and a few clean towels. Brother Leopard, which of you two will apply the medicine first? The big leopard licked the boy on the bed and told her with his eyes to apply the medicine to its master first. Yang Zhao cleaned up the water and towels and slowly moved to the boy's bed. This boy's really miserable. There is nothing but dust and blood on his body, and no high-end clothes can show it. Especially on his face. Large scratches extend from the left half of his face to his neck. His ears should have been damaged by the shock wave of the meteorite, and the blood in the ear canal dripped out. Yang Zhao was only concerned with opening her mouth at the time, and forgot to help the boy open his mouth. Seeing his miserable appearance, she was still glad that she had opened her mouth at the beginning. Yang Zhao first took off the boy's bloody coat and found that he didn't have any serious injuries. Like Yang Zhao, he was mainly scratched and bruised. Although he looked covered in blood, his injuries were actually not that serious. But how did he faint? She wondered in her heart while helping the boy apply the medicine. After cleaning his head, they began to clean his upper body. Only then did Yang Zhao notice that the young man's left hand had been tightly holding something, and he did not let go, even when he was unconscious. Chapter 50. Here comes someone. Yang Zhao took a quick look, suppressed her curiosity, and began to clean the other arm. After cleaning the boy, she turned around and asked the waiter to change the water and help the big leopard deal with the injury. The injury of this big leopard was much more serious than Thiz. Not only was one of its front legs broken, but its fur was also blown to pieces. Large wounds mixed with mud stuck to its body, and it was painful just by looking at it. Yang Zhao used a wet towel to clean the wound and said, "Brother Leopard, if it hurts, you can hum." The big leopard ignored her nonsense and turned his head to the side. She still remembered that when the meteorite exploded, it was the red light on the big leopard's body that enveloped her and saved her life in such a dangerous situation. Now she didn't even have a serious injury. Although according to the big leopard's intention at the time, it might just be to protect its owner. Yang Zhao was able to save her life after all because of its favor. Now it was reasonable to accommodate it more. The injury on the big leopard was very serious. Yang Zhao used 3 small packets of powder to treat the injuries of the boy. The remaining 7 packets were not enough for the leopard. Yang Zhao had no choice but to buy 4 more packets of hemostatic medicine from the shopkeeper. To be honest, this hemostatic medicine is really effective. Basically, the wound can be covered with powder, and the wound will not bleed. She decided to buy 2 more packets before leaving. When everything was packed up, the meteor shower outside had stopped for a while. Yang Zhao looked at everyone running outside to search for meteorites, while she could only lie here, regretting it. She felt something was wrong in the morning, but she couldn't resist the temptation and ran outside to search for meteorites and ended up sending herself to bed. Brother leopard, it's getting late. Do you want to eat something? The big leopard ignored her, and Yang Zhao didn't feel embarrassed. He raised his voice to call the boy outside in. Yang Zhao, hey, give me some easy to digest food and give brother leopard some big fish. The young man came in and asked in embarrassment, do you want those big fish raw or cooked? Yang Zhao turned to ask big leopard, brother leopard, do you want to eat raw or cooked? Big leopard, raw. Yang Zhao nodded. Oh, he wants it raw, fresh. The young man went out with a confused look on his face. After all, this was a communication between 2 species, and it was reasonable that he didn't understand. The young man was very considerate. In addition to Yang Zhao's food, he brought big leopard 2 freshly killed sea fish. The fish meat was bright red and firm. A closer look showed that the fish bones had been picked out. In comparison, the rice in Yang Zhao's bowl was not very delicious, with little oil and salt, and no taste. Yang Zhao looked at the 2 big fish, swallowed her saliva with envy, and lowered her head to continue eating her nutritious meal. When the 2 of them finished eating, the big leopard actually raised his head to the boy lying on the bed, meaning to give him some food too. Yang Zhao, brother leopard, he is unconscious. What can he eat? I can only give him some water. Big leopard, raw. Yang Zhao nodded helplessly. Okay, I'll feed him some rice soup. Come with me, a bowl of rice soup and a spoon. Come on. Although he was confused, he still honestly brought the rice soup and spoon over. Yang Zhao took the bowl, moved to the boy's bed, and tentatively fed him a mouthful. But the boy had no swallowing reaction at all, and the rice soup flowed down the corners of his mouth. She grabbed the towel beside the bed and wiped his neck. Brother leopard, you see he can't eat at all. When his family comes later, take him to see a doctor. The big leopard looked down in disappointment, and even his ears drooped. She drank the rice soup in the bowl in one gulp and asked the waiter to take the things out. The man and the beast looked at each other in silence in the room. Yang Zhao moved back to the bed and began to close her eyes and rest, and fell asleep accidentally. When she was half asleep and half awake, she heard brother leopard roar twice. This woke her up suddenly. Yang Zhao forced her eyes open and heard a knock on the door. Excuse me, is Miss Yang Zhao living in there? I heard that my nephew was rescued by you. Can I come in and see him? The voice was steady and low and seemed polite, but what he said was a statement, not a question. This meant that he would come in regardless of whether Yang Zhao agreed or not. Yang Zhao asked the big leopard lying next to him softly, brother leopard, do you know him by the voice? The big leopard nodded, and no emotion could be seen from his cat face, but it gave people the feeling that he was a little afraid of the visitor. Yang Zhao cleared her throat and said, please come in. I don't know if the person lying inside is your nephew. You can come in and identify him. The door creaked open, and 2 people walked in. It was dark outside and there was no light in the house. She only saw that the first person was very tall, and the person behind him was carrying a large box on his back, which looked like a medical kit. Zhaoming. The first person uttered 2 words in a low voice, and a ball of light appeared in the room. The room was suddenly filled with light, which made Yang Zhao unable to open her eyes. "Doctor, please take a look at the injury of this young lady first." The first person casually ordered, and then strode to the boy's bed, stretched out his hand, and began to explore his injury. Yang Zhao took a while to adjust before she opened her eyes and saw a kind-looking old man standing in front of her with a large medicine box on his back. "Young lady, can I take a look at your injury?" It seemed that the person in front of her was a doctor, and she didn't know if she would have to pay for the follow-up treatment herself. Yang Zhao nodded in agreement. The doctor took out a green bronze ruler more than 30 centimeters long from the medicine box. He injected some spiritual power into the ruler, which emitted a green light. Then the light swept from Yang Zhao's head to his toes. A moment later, a physical condition test sheet floated on the green ruler. "This ruler is so high-tech." "No, it's this ruler that is so high-tech." The doctor carefully looked at the contents on the sheet and introduced Yang Zhao's condition with a smile. "Miss Yang Zhao, in addition to the external injuries, your throat has been overused and your ears have been shaken. It's not a big problem. The key is that your head has also been shaken. You may not want to eat for the next few days and you may even feel like vomiting, but it will be fine after 2 days of rest. There are many bruises on your body. I will use my spiritual power to clear them for you later. Generally speaking, there is nothing wrong." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.